Are you a soldier? Are you an assassin? You're neither. You're an errand boy sent by grocery clerks. I don't even know what that means. I've been listening to Waste of Kokomo just too long.
Welcome to the Waste of Kokomo, episode
12.
Woo! Always. It burns! Except it only burns when I pee. So, as usual, we're going to work around the table with our regular Waste of Kokomo, Kokomoans. Anyways, to my right, we have...
Kelly Malinowski, owner of the cellar.
Yeah, can you tell? Yeah, Kelly.
Yeah.
It's been a day. You doing all right, Kelly?
Nope.
No? All right, that's on another podcast. Okay. Kelly is sporting the Cubs hat, man. She's ready to go. Kelly, you're a golfer? I didn't know you golfed. Do you golf?
Yes.
You want me to skip you right now and come back to you?
Yeah.
She's all grins.
All smiles.
Straight across from me, we have...
I kissed him.
Leonard Pig, writer, artist, agent provocateur.
And the other half of my wrestling tag team.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
He's part of the...
Few people know that.
Part of the... what was your tag team? Did you have a name?
I think it was called, it was the Thunderclap.
That was actually our move.
Yeah.
We'd sit there and run into an unsuspecting victim.
Yeah.
At the same time, belly to belly sandwich, and we called it the Thunderclap.
Nice.
Off the ropes and
Wham!
wham!
It was
Thunderclap.
over, huh?
That was the finishing move. That was the Mortal Kombat.
And it became mortal, and we retired. We killed a guy.
You killed a guy and he had to retire. Right? They said you either retire or go to jail.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had to
Thunderclap
hang
was
up our
done.
tights.
And they probably removed you guys from all the wrestling history books and everything.
Did you
find
guys
YouTube.
lose all your titles and everything?
You
Did
can
they
find
revoke?
YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
They took it all back?
They did.
It's kind of like Ohio State.
When they took the Grammy back from Milli Vanilli.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. They did. I was
And
really
Reggie
mad.
Bush's Heisman.
Reggie Bush's eyes.
So then, to Lenny's right, we have...
Wendy Browning, scheduler.
Lenny Brown is scheduled. She's like owning that motherfucker
She
now.
is. Well, at first she didn't even
Hey.
call me. And if you want to call her, it's 765-457-9211.
Yeah.
9211.
457-9211.
Available 24
That
hours
worked for
a
you
day.
the other night, didn't it?
It worked
I
for-
heard that later on.
Lord.
It worked for this next guy here to my left.
Jared Summers, a.k.a.
Cardiac Kid.
That's right.
Jared was picking up chicks the other night, handing out hotel room keys.
I'm really good at that.
Yeah. And,
I took my shirt off for somebody.
Yep, he did.
Again.
He did.
Thank God.
I gave it away, though,
The
this time.
Flamingo shirt.
Are you making fun of my
I'm making
friend?
fun of that shit.
Wendy's like, I just bought that. And I'm like,
Got it on sale.
he needs to give it away.
Oh, man, I like that shirt, man.
I liked it. It's a V-neck, too. Don't you hate
That's
me?
another creepy thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a V-neck? Yeah, I don't know
V-necks,
if I could do
yeah.
that.
It was a slight V-neck. It wasn't like a deep show my scar and chesticles.
Oh, no, you were doing this.
It was
Pulling
stretched
it
out.
down.
It was
like
stretched
this is
out. It looked like
raining
it.
on your ass.
It looked like
That
you didn't
commercial.
just buy it. Yeah.
Is there like a reversal agent that she can take to that diarrhea that she's got?
Adderall.
One of them.
Adderall?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll shut up.
No, it's okay, Kelly. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad
Adderall is the anti-venom for
Is
too
it?
much alcohol. Yes.
Okay.
I'll have it done.
So we have a couple other people in the room. To my immediate right, we have
Lisa Falk.
Lisa Falk. She's
Hold me closer, tiny Lisa. Ba-da-ba.
All right, Jared.
Okay.
So
I do love that.
Jared,
My son goes around his mom's house and sings Tiny Lisa.
Is it not weird that my boyfriend sings about my friends in the shower?
What?
Oh, it's just a song.
Oh, yeah.
Just a song.
Whoa. There was a quick,
Song.
there was a brief silence
Let's put the brakes
there
on.
at first, and then I was like,
Let's back up.
okay.
God, I can see this moment where, like, Wendy's on the phone's like, yeah, Kelly, what's going on? God, I don't know what's up with Jared. He's in the shower again. He just keeps clapping his hands and singing Tiny Lisa. Clapping his hands. I don't know if he's actually clapping. I said, well, there's a slapping noise. I assume
She
he's
hasn't done
applauding.
that yet, but it might happen. We do send creepy texts to each other every now and again.
Yeah.
Not every now and again. It's usually daily.
Like
Okay,
people's
never
feces
mind.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Fecal matter. Anyway, let's move on to our guest of honor this afternoon, early evening, on this beautiful sunny day in the cellar.
So we have our guest of honor. Give it up for Mr. Mark Slater of Colosseum Combat.
Does that make me like the biggest Waste of Kokomo?
You are the biggest one.
You're an honorary member if you'd like to come down and join us.
We waste people later. We put very important people
Right,
first.
first,
Yes.
And
That's
you're
right.
there.
I'm there.
You're in the
Yes,
spotlight.
you
So,
are.
go.
Go.
Your time starts now.
45 minutes.
Tell us
Start
about
from the
your-
beginning.
So this is Colosseum Combat XLIX.
Which is...
X-Lix. That's what we've been calling
Yes.
it. It's Colosseum Combat
Is
X-Lix.
that like 30?
49.
49.
49.
For those that aren't well versed in Roman numerals.
Me.
So,
And this is this takes place May 18th at the Civic Center, right?
Kokomo Event and
Kokomo
Conference
Event
Center.
Conference Center. Yes, I need to get that right
They
because
still
it
have
is the Kokomo Event Center. The Kokomo Event Center.
the only Kokomo Event Center, is it not?
It will always be the, no matter what the hell the mayor puts downtown.
Well, there we go. That,
So I'm curious, Mark. What got you started doing the whole Colosseum Combat?
It's a story. I used to sponsor fighters, put the New Breed logo, and then me and Matt made the WSBC logo, and it just thought it'd look cool. And then Matt would DJ fights. I'd hustle T-shirts. We'd buy more trunks, sponsor more fighters, and then had an opportunity to fight myself a couple times, and then had messaged Jay Martin, who owned Colosseum Combat, and I'd worked with him at the casting plant. Was like, man, I'd rather fight for you, make you money than some of the other guys I'd fought for. And he's like, man, my heart isn't in it anymore. Just buy it and do something with it. I couldn't. And that was right when Indiana was getting sanctioned to where you could do like a sanctioned pro event. Mm-hmm. So I bought it and then did one of the first sanctioned events in Indiana.
That is cool.
There it is. And when you bought it, it was Colosseum Combat number
10.
10?
So I did
Now-
11 to
So that was what year was that?
2009 is when I bought it, and then my first show was January 2010.
January 2010.
Did you guys start out at the Armory?
No, we started out at what was then the Kokomo Event Center that was owned by the county.
Okay. The Joanne.
Joanne, right. And then we did a few shows there, and then Ivy Tech took over. We did 3 shows there. They kicked us out. The Armory, spent a couple years there. Then Vern Graves bought the event center and asked, if we'd be interested in going back, and they've been awesome
Ever since.
Yeah, that's
So
good
it's
people.
it's been awesome.
Yeah,
So,
I've been to a few of those shows.
Yeah, last time I saw you at one of them, you were laid out on the couch with about 37 wires in you.
Yeah.
Ambulance.
And,
Yeah,
and yeah,
it was-
ambulance was
It
right
was a good
there.
time. It was a real good time.
And he wasn't even in the fight.
I wasn't even in a fight.
He's trying to sell T-shirts.
I was.
Were you even excited about a fight? What caused
Well,
it?
I think I got real excited about the fights. Actually, I was there with the kids, and we were selling shirts for Ronnie's ride or his benefit or whatever. And I just had open heart surgery, and I had a little bit of a problem, and it's now taken care of. Had some heart palpitation that stuck for about 20 minutes. It seemed like.
So is that the first heart attack you recorded heart attack at any of the Colosseum Combat events, Mark, or is there?
That might be the first.
It might be the first.
Well, I got taken out on a stretcher. If that tells you anything, you were worried about
It was the last one, wasn't it?
No, it was the one before last.
Oh,
3 or
okay.
4 ago, 3 ago.
At least, yeah.
Back in November, October.
Hey,
November.
it's a good thing MMA sanctioned because I had to have a licensed physician there
You did.
and an
Yes, you
ambulance
did.
with
You had-
ALS. So we had a paramedic and an EMT.
Yep, you sure did.
So you were set. A
They
doc,
took care of me.
EMT, paramedic.
Sure did. They
If
called.
we'd had a surgeon, though, you probably wouldn't even have to leave.
I was still. I think I was still laid open. Well,
He was
not
in
laid
the
open.
he was in the fight though, so you had to wait till he was done.
Yeah.
I probably was cussing you because they won't start the fight until the doctor and the ambulance is back. So I was probably like, man.
It was
Why
the
the hell
end.
are we
It was
having
right
that?
at the
Okay,
end.
well then good.
Yeah.
You didn't give us an extra intermission. We're all right. As long as we didn't have an extra intermission, it was all right.
Yeah, I called across. I actually called Wendy. She was bartending. I called across the event center. I said, "Listen, don't freak out," which she did. But then I said, "Don't freak out." But I'm stuck in my heart is racing. Is what it was. It's like atrial fibrillation. Nobody gives a shit, and it wouldn't come out of it. And normally it goes. Just put AFib.
Google.
Google it. And I knew what it was because I've had it my whole adult life that I can remember. I've had problems with irregular heartbeat, but I had just had open heart surgery. So I said, "Hey, can you get a paramedic? Because I know there's one here." And blah blah blah. So she did. They
Had to find one first. It was behind the curtain.
She found it. Found her. And then there was
yeah.
two of them. There was a her and a him. And then they called the ambulance, took care of me, and I was in and out of the hospital for like the 15th time since I had my heart surgery. But it was good. I was glad to be in the place that I was at because nobody was like, they were Googling at me, but it wasn't like they were.
Making a spectacle.
They did not make. Jimmy
I
did.
made a
Jimmy did in the
But I would have
sun.
done the same thing if someone was over there breastfeeding on that couch. So don't feel special. I'm just kidding.
You probably
I'm
would've
totally
went up.
joking about that.
You probably would have went up and tried to get some milk,
Yeah,
huh?
yeah,
Like,
man. Hey, man.
I hear this is good for your
My
brain.
My son's got these cookies in his bag. Speaking of my son, the last 3-4 years, we've pretty much been to every one of them, and now definitely when it's my weekends and it's there, and he just loves it. We'd always make a point to go get tickets at New Breed from Mark, and it was just always like, I'd be like, "Hey, you want go in the fights? We're gonna get the tickets," and he was always like, "Oh yeah, with that big fighter dude, with that big." And Mark always made a point to give him the tickets and get a picture taken with him, and he just always thought that was awesome. And then when we go to the fights, we don't see all the time, but he always asks, he goes, "Where's that big fighter?"
Well, you guys have backstage credit. Nobody's going to throw you out if you sneak back there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. We just, if I see walking through, we say something. But
The commission will usually, like, if somebody's talking to me, then they don't say anything. But if it's just random people and they aren't there talking to me, then
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Right,
You got to
right,
have
right.
a blue bracelet. It's
Yeah.
fighters and corners only. But if it's somebody talking to me, then
yeah.
then they know that they have that option to be
Right,
back there.
right.
So what's the main event? What do we got going on leading up to the main event for this one, and then we'll get into the history of
Well,
or whatever you got going on, whatever you want to talk about.
on this one, it's like the local guy is the main event, which doesn't happen a lot, believe it or not. So Dan Head is the main event in this one. He's actually, I think he works transmission plant.
Yep, he's KTP.
Is that the honey badger? they
Yes,
call
the
him?
honey badger. He's also went by. I think he went one time as Dad Bod. I think he's had a few different.
Bod.
Yeah,
Call him up as the karaoke kid. Have you heard him do karaoke?
I have. I've witnessed it live
Yeah.
numerous times.
He takes it a little
we,
serious though. I mean, he has fun, but he,
Oh, he rocks out.
yeah.
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 Oh, has he been there to your
Oh, yeah.
place?
A few
Really?
times.
I
used to.
Yeah.
You and what? 3 or 4 more people?
Yeah, some other guys. I don't know who.
The incident earlier, I was talking
Yeah, I
about
heard
with him
about that
pulling
one.
a blade on me. Actually, happened
Yeah.
one night while I was there karaoke.
Were you on the other
and
side or were you on the cozy side?
It would have been. It's all the same, isn't it? The only thing.
Is that what that big
The-
stain
the
on the
other
pool
side-
table is?
Was that your blood?
Blood sacrifice. Yeah.
I mean, what the other side has the better bathrooms, right?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, and the cozy has
Because the floor's
like,
got it's got a little bit to give to them. Like,
yeah, there's something about over there on the cozy, like it's like a 1-seater type
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of sketch. Yeah, so it was at the cozy they pulled the blade on me.
Actually,
Because
Oh,
it was
it
right
was
by
in
the
it was right by that sketch. Like he said something about me stepping on his sneakers. I don't know. It was crazy, but I mean, luckily they had proper security there.
Oh,
they
they
got
do.
us
Yeah.
separated.
You don't ever have to worry about not having security that way.
Yeah, it was one of my ayahuasca nights, I'm sure.
You're tripping, huh?
Oh man, it's
You're
funny.
enlightened.
Like
Excuse me, enlightened.
Yep.
So,
actually,
so
ayahuasca
we
wouldn't make
gotta
you do
call
that,
him,
but,
bring him out as the karaoke kid. If he was here, we'd throw it out there. Give him,
But
Give
he,
him an option.
he is saying that this is going to be his like final fight.
Okay.
So that adds a little bit of pressure on him and his opponent because now you're the guy that's like, well, am I supposed to lose this because it's your last fight? No,
yeah.
This guy's not. Dan didn't want an easy fight, and this guy isn't an easy fight. This is one where if Dan wins it, then he kind of goes out on top. And if Sean Fallon is his opponent, if Sean wins, then he makes a statement beating a tough veteran like Dan. So neither one of these guys are wanting to lose this particular fight for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone ever.
Nobody ever does. But, when the guy's like, they sign the fight, they do everything, then the guy's like, I'm doing this for my kids, and it's the last fight. Well, then the other guy's like, man, come on. And,
pressure.
He's always going to be that guy. They're like, yeah, man, my dad, he used to be a fighter until Sean Fallon took him down on his last
But it's
fight.
one of those that, like, both of them guys, they respect each other. They've both been around. Like, Dan was the very first main event I ever had. He was the main event of the first show I did as a promoter. I'd sponsored Dan before I was a promoter, and when I fought one time, Dan was the promoter. So Dan and me's been friends a minute. Sean knows that. Well, Sean's fought for me since he was an amateur, all the way back to do that.
Right.
Sean's my buddy. Dan knows that. So it's like one of those things. It's like the other day, Dan had came up to the tattoo shop, hung out a minute, grabbed some tickets. We talked, gave him a hug. He left. I literally left the tattoo shop, drove to Indy to meet Sean Fallon, to hug him, give him tickets to fight my other buddy. It's
Right.
So at certain points, you just take yourself out of it, and a lot of those fights I don't watch. I watch them later, like on TV at home. One time, Dan was fighting a kid named Jamison Sharp back in the Armory years, and my daughter wanted to sit cage side. She's like a little girl, 9, 10 years old, 11, however, a little girl. And Dan had actually babysat her before, so we're sitting there watching this guy, and he's getting beat, and it goes to a decision. It's a close one, but Dan ends up losing, and the whole time we're fighting, our hands are sweating, and so at that point you gotta I'm not gonna watch this one. Take yourself out of the equation and let them guys do what they get paid to do, and hope the better man wins that night. But
now, how often do these guys? Not these particular people that you're talking about. Do they fight several times a year? 4 or 5 times a year? 6 times a year?
Most do. Dan's had a little hiatus because he wasn't going to fight again. Then his son's like, I want to watch you fight, because he was at the last fight with his boy, and he's back in the back seeing everybody getting excited, knowing his dad used to do it. And I don't think he's ever been at one of his dad's fights. So he's wanting to watch his dad fight once, and I guess, that adds a little pressure, like, all right, I'll do it one more time. But typically these guys are fighting, 4 or 5 times, a year at the most.
It sounds like a Rocky movie here, this last Dan Head fight. It sounds like a...
Oh, dude, and I even
fit right
said
in there.
it looks like he's fighting Ivan Drago, because the guy he's fighting's, a few inches taller than him. And Dan especially, like... It's one of those things, like, Dan has been my buddy, and I know how tough he is, so it's like, Dan versus Grizzly Bear, he'll win, and, like, there's parts of Dan's career that I put him in, he fought dudes that showed up overweight, were big monsters, Anthony Lapsley's one that went it on to the UFC and stuff, and, I mean, these were just monsters, and Dan went to a decision with him, had every opportunity to beat him, but these are guys that, Dan could have took easier route and fought lesser opponents, but anybody I put in front of him, I'll fight him. And in my mind, he's going to beat everybody because he's Dan Head and he's my buddy. And him versus anybody, I got Dan. And sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. So this is another one that he ain't getting any favors, and he knows it. He's going to have to fight his ass off to win.
Karaoke kid. We need to have karaoke set up at the fights.
What? They'll
What's that?
be singing in the
back in the
Singing on the way
After
up.
they fight, they gotta go sing karaoke.
Oh, yeah,
That would be
No,
even
instead
better.
of playing a song, you know how they have their song when they go up.
They
They'll
gotta sing it on the
They gotta sing it on the way.
There you go.
Have like 20 guys singing "Eye of the Tiger" every time they come to the ring.
Dude, and a lot of them have, you know, you hear a song, you're like, I've heard this 18 times, you know.
Right.
This is no lie. This kid, his name's Ryan McIntosh. You've probably seen him fight for me. The first time he fought for me was 2010 at the Armory, second show I ever did. And this kid didn't really have a gym he was training at. I don't know, he might have been 20, 21 years. He was young. So I go and pick him up. He just stays at my house for the week, goes to Matt Russ's house. Matt had a studio. Goes in there, makes his own entrance music.
Oh, yeah.
Like, makes a rap song and comes out and wins a fight against a hometown kid.
Oh, that is awesome.
And, like, it was nuts, dude. Like, I mean, he's like, tells that story. He's like, no, dude, I came up. The promoter let me stay at his house. I was just crashing on his couch for a few days. And his buddy had a studio. So while he went to work, I went to his studio. And his buddy made my entrance music. And then I came out to it. And, like, yeah, it was, like, one of the best stories ever. But, these guys over time, that is like your extended family.
So does he still use that?
Oh no, dude! Like like now
long
it'd be
time.
tacky as shit.
yeah.
But
He'll be like
2010,
he'll be like R-Truth.
yeah,
the
2010, it
WWF.
was badass. Now I'm sure he'd be like, oh gosh, I can't believe I made that. But back then it was pretty epic to just be able to do it, pull it off, and
One
then
of
come out and win.
Was you? Oh no, that was the boxing. I was going to talk about when Kurt Reed come out and Richie put on. They Call Me the Fireman, the country song. Was you there?
I'm sure I was in all those boxing fights.
Yeah, he came out. I think Richie put that song. I don't know if that was the case or not, but I thought Richie's the one that picked the song.
Oh, dude! Even on the MMA ones, like Mike Eikenberry, one time he came out to. What was it? Boy George, do you really want to hurt me? And I was like, dude, that's awesome.
That's genius.
And I was like, no, he didn't. Like, he came out to Boy George. And Dan, he came out to Fight Song. This is my fight song.
That's awesome.
So, do you know what he's coming out to this time? Is it
I
all big
don't.
surprise, or does he
Yeah.
turn it in and you don't know what it is until? I mean, you probably don't. You got more stuff going on.
They tell
than
my
you know.
girlfriend at weigh-ins, and then she writes all of it down and then gives it to the DJ. And up until recently, it was Matt was the DJ.
Right.
Ross.
I wondered. He was just the last one. Was the first
Right,
one,
he
wasn't
wasn't, and then like all the fighters were like upset, and he doesn't believe me. He thinks that it's
Yeah.
bullshit. I'm like, no, dude, they're like mad, and now like they don't even care if you don't DJ, but they want you there, because you've been a part of
Yeah,
it
yeah.
every single show. And when all this started, he didn't have Oscar, his son, or Oscar's the pizza place, so he could help me do anything,
Right.
within reason, and we can make time and whatever. And now, it's a little different scenario. So we had Aaron Highball, who fought for me quite a few times, was my welterweight champ. He's got a twin brother that's a DJ.
Okay.
So he was DJing it. Everybody kept saying, I didn't know Aaron Highball DJ. Your champ's DJ. I'm like, no, that's actually his twin brother, Austin.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so I think Austin's going to do it again, and I think Matt is going to at least be hanging out and making an appearance, because it was weird. Like several of the fighters, I'm like, no man, I'm telling you, like they wanted you there. Like they felt it was weird that you weren't there. He's
I
like,
thought.
"All right,
I just
man."
thought something maybe come up with.
It did,
with
and
the
I mean, he had
restaurant
his
or the
son.
family,
Yeah,
and-
he had his son that night, and you know how it is being a divorced dad. You get your son a certain amount of times. It's hard to like, well, the one night, he's gonna spend the
Yeah.
night, and I got to pawn him off to go
Yeah,
and help my buddy out, and he would help me do anything. You know how
Right.
close
Oh,
we
yeah.
are, so. It wasn't nothing personal. It wasn't it's one of those things. Me and him both are in that boat. So when we have our kids, we try not to plan too much stuff going on, and he helps me any chance he gets. And like I said, if he can go and just hang out, bring Oscar, we'll hang out at the fights and not have to worry about DJing and the whole day of it and bringing equipment, setting up, doing everything. It's a lot different. Even the posters and flyers, he did every poster and flyer for me for 9 years. I could never pay him, what he was worth. It's just we're buddies. So that's what we did to help each other out. And Still that days. I mean, it's what we do,
He needs to set his equipment up there in Oscars,
and have.
right there in that corner.
Nowadays, it's busy most times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really took off, didn't it?
Yeah, he's doing well. That's awesome.
Because someone
Good.
stole
It's
the
good
damn
pizza.
extension
It's
cord.
good pizza.
Until people stole the art the art display out there.
Did they really?
What?
He has an extension cord, or he has the art display out there. It's like them
Wow.
tubs of.
They're tubs, and
And
they're
yeah.
water with like water.
They got something on the, and then they light
LED
up.
lights
Yeah.
or whatever in them.
And so someone stole his extension cord.
Oh,
So I just seen that on Facebook.
I don't think it was his per se. I think it was the art, whoever
Right,
did.
right,
But
yeah,
it's
I know,
still
but
just,
still,
yeah,
I
it's
mean-
still pretty.
They probably could have came in and said, "Hey, I really need an extension cord. Can I?"
It just seems really good at a still $2 extension cord.
Yeah.
I don't know at what point, like, I don't know, that I'd sell my soul just the thought of getting caught stealing an
What are you in
extension
for?
cord,
What are
and
you
then
in
like
for?
somebody
Well, I
like,
got
man,
an
what are you
extension
doing?
cord on an art exhibit.
I don't even mean by law. I just mean being caught by anybody.
Oh,
yeah. I feel so shameful. Like, oh, I was just gonna steal this.
I needed.
Yeah.
Actually, I was gonna hang myself.
somebody probably took it and went to go shoot up in the alley. Like, I need to tie my arm off.
Hopefully, it was to like save a drowning puppy
Waste
from
of
a,
Kokomo.
from the water or something, or you know what I mean. They had to use it to like lasso and save a
Oh,
bunch
right,
of persons.
right in the Wildcat River. Right.
Right there.
Yeah, I didn't know that that's suddenly riverfront property now. I'm like,
There
really?
is.
Everything,
and it's a premium.
Everything's river.
The shit's
river
expensive,
something
too,
in Kokomo.
by the
I was
way.
like, hey, let's call this river.
Those river whatever three. What is that place called?
Was
The
it
new
306 or something? Or
The apartment.
306
or
or
is it 305 or
whatever it
something?
is.
Condos or whatever.
They're expensive as hell. Very
They're
expensive.
very nice.
I hear
And
nobody
they
local
have
I don't
a
care
lot
if
of
they're nice or
amenities.
not. It's Kokomo, Indiana, and they're
And
on
the
the
Markman
polluted.
Trailer Court is River Estates.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's on the like most polluted waterway. In
But I mean, in a
United
$1,200 apartment, it seems like it's crazy. But I mean, how much is a 3-bedroom at the Fontenelle? I mean, it's probably $800.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Ask
I
Ask Kelly about the
Pool,
Fontenelle.
workout,
I was
gym,
just asking,
everything.
like,
No, seriously, yeah. I mean,
and there you can walk out. You got your own little area where you can watch a game if there is one going. I mean,
Oh, really?
I'm not overselling it, but I'm saying like I think they're around 1,200.
That's
and
what I
then-
think it was. Is 12.
And then I'm looking at like, I mean,
I'm not dogging the price. I'm just the name. I don't,
it's not.
oh,
don't
there's
care what they
not
got.
rivers,
Creekfront.
right? Yeah, creek.
front.
It's a creek.
Creek.
It ain't even creek.
Creek.
It's a
Creek.
creek.
Got Kokomo Creek Apartments. It just wouldn't sell. You couldn't sell those for $1,200, so you have to call it
I had
river.
to spice it up a little bit. I remember I lived like on the Wildcat Creek and like not on it, but you know my house was here.
In a
and
By
dam.
the river.
He lived
we
in
used
a
to go
van.
fucking
Down
play
by the
in.
river.
Oh yeah.
I lived in a van, and we used to go play, you know, back there, fish or whatever. And then whenever this sounds, you would never do this now, but when I was younger, it would flood. We were living in a floodplain. Well, we'd go play in Foster Park
In the
when it was
water.
flooded in the water, and then finally, when I got older, I figured out what those little rubber things were that were floating by.
Later, when I found out I had hepatitis,
Yeah.
I learned that
So,
I was
but that's
swimming
only-
in sewage.
Man, I caught this crawdad. He was in a sleeping bag.
So when I figured that out,
was ribbed.
I finally went to my parents. I finally went to my parents. I'm like, "You fucking let us swim in this shit, and you didn't say anything to us."
Yeah, and you know what? Was it? I mean, did we just not know it was polluted back then? I mean, because
They knew it was so toxic, but it was swept under the rug.
I know there they probably thought that, but in Highland Park, did we think that it wasn't? I don't know because we
Like,
played
was
it
it any
now.
Like they
different?
thought the water was clean in Highland Park, even though the rest of the
Right,
The rest
yeah.
of the city was not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay to play in Highland Park. Just don't go play over by UCT or
Foster
Steel mill.
Park.
Yeah.
Because you like, I remember fishing and pulling fish out with like sores and like
You have
growths.
sores or the fish
I
did?
still have sores, but let's not talk about
They
that.
still eat good.
There was a guy in our neighborhood that if you caught catfish, you wanted a catfish, and you know, or any kind of fish that came out of there, and I'm like, you can't eat that. Whenever they put a sign up that says do not eat fish from this waterway, I think you probably should follow the rules.
I'm trying to think. I remember when they put those up, so it's been in my lifetime that they decided, okay, we probably better.
Well, after they found the barrels and barrels and barrels of shit that they have extracted from there, it's cleaned up a little bit more. I mean, but it's still not 100%.
I'd swim in there right now for my hippie golf disc if I had to.
That's why you buy the floating ones. You don't have to.
They make them?
They make floating ones. Yes, they do.
So are you a disc golfer?
You disc golfer?
Yeah, but it's
You
either-
can admit it. I mean, we'll cut this out.
Right
You don't have
now,
to, if you're
no,
ashamed.
I'm not ashamed.
We'll play. I'll play.
I'm probably the only person ever that's had like a devastating knee injury playing hippie golf.
Oh, so like you had to have surgery?
Like I dislocated my kneecap playing hippie golf.
You didn't fall down the Indian trails?
Close.
Were you on the launch pad? Were you on the pad?
Do you want to hear it?
I want to hear it.
There's
Seriously.
witnesses to this, man. Randy Slater, I love you. He carried me out of the woods at Honey Bear Hollow.
Oh, the campground?
Yep, out by Peru.
That is wooded as hell, too.
It's awesome.
It's
It's a great one. But yeah, I threw, and I'm not very good, but I threw, it was the best one I'd ever thrown in my life. And I'm admiring it, and I step off the pad, and my leg just keeps going in some mud, and it goes to a certain point, and then it just 90 degree, and my kneecap was over here on the side, and I'm on the ground, and I'm just like wallowing in mud and writhing in pain. And Randy used to work at the casting plant, but he took the buyout. But I pop it back over, and we're in the middle of this woods, and I'm just like, dude, and he's not a small guy, but he ain't gonna carry me, out of the woods.
Yeah.
So like we get up and I get my arm. I mean, it's like the buddy crawl, and he's a crutch, and we got out of the woods enough to where there's like a little pay pit in that area too, with a little bit of and so we could kind of walk and divert a lot of the woods.
Right.
But yeah, he literally had to help carry me out of there. I had to have knee surgery.
I'd be like, Mark, you're
I was
gonna
on
die, dude.
sick leave from Chrysler for about. And they're like, what'd you do, man? It was terrible. I was playing,
War injury.
I was playing hippie golf out there, and I fell and hurt
Or he
myself real bad.
mislit his blunt. It's like,
It was bad. It was bad. That was 6 weeks of sick leave pay. I barely survived.
So, how long before you got back on the course?
It took me a while, but just for that fear. And then the best, it wasn't that long. Bill Bradley, I don't know if you remember that guy too, but he was another casting plant alumni. We went out there, and then Randy showed him where I had wallered. And had to go into deep, right here's where it happened, man. It was fucking brutal. And he was laying here. And I, telling him about me popping my leg over, and then, so it wasn't really long, because I'm not making this up, you could see
Your
the
leg.
line
you can still see the line.
of it shooting over.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that gymnast. Did you guys see that video of that gymnast?
Well, that broke her legs. This didn't break my knee, but I've had 3 knee surgeries. Yeah, 2 on the right, 1 on the left. But it was,
Pretty brutal.
it was pretty gross.
Yeah, whenever you can lick your own toes, there's a problem. I think there's.
It was. I knew it was bad when I could see his face. You know what I mean? Like when I'm holding my leg, and then I'm looking at him, and then because my knee's here, so your leg's kind of cockeyed. Not like a normal. And then that's when I'm like, oh shit. And it wasn't the first time I dislocated my knee, but it was the first time it happened in the woods. And as a kind of a grown man, to where I wasn't young and a little more athletic.
Right.
So yeah, it was pretty brutal to.
I don't think I could have popped my knee back over.
It was almost instant.
It was either that or
yeah.
I'm like,
it was
morphine.
instinctual.
Yeah, just because you don't want to look. It almost shock, and I popped it back, and I laid there a minute, okay, all right, I'm ready. Let's see if I can at least get up and put, and then.
Did you par that hole? Oh, you didn't make it through the whole
No. He did go pick up my disc.
Did he? What a nice guy. What a nice guy.
But
He probably don't want to see your knee no more. He's like, hey, dude, you do something with that knee. I'll go find your disc. If you can have that pop back in by the time I get back, I'd appreciate it.
Damn, that sucks, man. So do a lot of these guys that fight, do a lot of them, or have a lot of your guys ended up, besides your amateurs and stuff like that? I know they stage up or whatever and then go to the UFC. Do you have a lot of guys that have made some big debuts in the UFC?
One guy actually last night he lost a decision. I mean, it was a close decision, but he had fought for me. That Thomas Gifford, you're probably there. He came from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Fought one of the Van Camps.
Yeah.
Beat him, but he just made his debut last night in the UFC. And then the guy that won our main event in February, he's fighting May 11th for Bellator. Up in Chicago. Nice. So I mean, it happens.
You gonna go up there and watch him, or?
That one's a week before my show, so I'm hoping to, but I'm not 100% sure just because of it gets crazy that week before fight week. But there's actually, he's the most recent, but there's 3 other guys like Robert Morrow. He's our light heavyweight champion. He's fighting that night. Josh Streaker's fought for me. He's fighting that night. So there's actually at least 4 that I know of. Matt Paul, that are Colosseum Combat veterans fighting for Bellator in Chicago that same night. So I'm going to try to go.
How does that work? Do they just get so they go on a circuit like Colosseum Combat? They go around the Midwest and then they get picked up by Bellator? Is that, or they get signed to a contract?
It's I mean, a lot of it's on the fighters, and then part of it's fighting for a show that gets you recognized. So. Not like tooting Colosseum Combat's horn, but it's grown to show, it's grown to be a show where we get a lot of views on social media and on YouTube, and there's a following. So if a guy fights and wins, somebody's going to see it. And if they're fighting tough competition and they've got a little bit of a record, they can be spotted by a scout that takes them to that next level. At the end of the day, they got to perform, but this gives them that avenue where they're in a lot of regional shows like this to where you get pro wins and then you can get a call pretty quick. A lot of them can spend a lot of times in smaller shows, building that same record and reputation because nobody knows who they are. They're fighting on somewhere in front of 85 people that don't have, the following. And you guys have seen what Rob Moss does with the video and stuff and all that. I mean, that adds to the show to where people watch it. We have Chris Lytle doing the commentary, who's a 20-time UFC vet. I mean, those are things that draw people to watch it that aren't going to watch necessarily just some show thrown together. You know what I mean?
I think Lytle, I was telling him, I think does he bare knuckle box or something now?
He did it a few times. Like
he went overseas. But he whooped somebody's ass.
He just did one in Mexico, too.
Yeah.
I'm actually meeting him tomorrow. I mean, Chris, he came and did a anti-bullying speech at Maplecrest last week.
Nice.
So it's been cool having him a part of the show because it's even bringing stuff, like that here to town that, hearing his anti-bullying message is pretty cool for middle school kids.
Right.
So, and that connection wouldn't have happened without the Colosseum Combat connection. So Justin Hahn is one of the commentators for us. He's a teacher. He's, sitting there working with Chris, and, next thing you know, he's coming to Kokomo schools and delivering his message. So.
Nice.
Does he coach or teach at Maplecrest, or is he at Bon Air?
I think he was. I think he's at Maplecrest.
Yeah, I think he's at Maplecrest now. I think
he was at Bon Air at one point. You're all right, but I think he's at Maple. I know that that's where Chris was at, and I know that Justin was who got him there. So. Right. But it was. Just a cool little connection through the MMA world, that one of those things you don't think about, like, oh, this guy just puts on fights, and it's like, no, there's...
And the next thing, there's a community, something happening in the community because of it. So a lot of that stuff happens from a fight.
Right. I mean, that's the point. I mean, not to sound like a politician or anything, but I mean, I do it to bring stuff here and to bring money here. You know how it is. I mean, I've told you the same thing for however long. Like, a lot of my friends own local businesses, and I want them to have people here. And even if it's only every couple of months, if there's an extra 800, 900, 1,000 people that are not local, because like
Right.
we bring in 1,200 people. Maybe
Yeah.
you've been there. What?
Yeah.
Maybe a third you kind of might know are Kokomo. The
Yeah, oh,
rest,
yeah.
the rest
Rest
of
yeah.
them,
don't know.
60-70% of the people are driving over an hour to come. So it's bringing people here that are going to spend money. Hopefully, I mean that's that's the idea behind it. So seems to work.
It does. It does work. It's a
It's
good.
pretty popular. I mean,
Yeah,
I love
it's,
going.
I do too.
And it's it's what, every 3 months basically.
Couple months,
every
3
2 months,
months.
3 months. So it's something that's not in your face all the time, but it's there. It's something different to do. I mean, and like I said, me and Cooper go. Me and Cooper's never made it all the way through one. Matter of fact, I don't remember the last time I've seen a main event
Because I went down.
we did that night. So I'm starting to like, okay, well, you need to go later. We need to go later. And last time I was like, hell yeah, I'm going later. And then we were there on time, so I don't know what all happened there. But we're going to make a damn final again. We're going to make that one.
How many tickets do you sell for this?
Like February, it was close to 1,300.
That's awesome.
So they're not all February, you know what I mean? But I'd say on average 1,000, 1,100. Summer shows are kind of iffy. This one's before school's out and stuff, and we got a couple local guys, Dan and then Nick Fox.
Teddy Bear.
I think
Teddy
that's his
Bear.
uncle.
Oh, his uncle. Okay.
Aaron's his uncle, yeah.
Okay, Aaron's his uncle. Okay, I think.
Yeah. And then Nick is the kid. I think he's what? Do you know Nick by chance? I think he just graduated like maybe last year. He was like a stud. That's why I asked. He was like a stud Kokomo wrestler. Like a lot of people kind of knew him just because he was local and was doing pretty well in high school wrestling. And but yeah, he's a local one. Dan's a local one. So we'll definitely have have the local following. And then like I was saying earlier, a lot of these kids they hustle tickets and they bring fans. So even if they're fighting an hour and a half, 2 hours away, they'll sell 50, 60 tickets.
Yeah, and they do. They bring. I mean, people that travel, they do bring, and they, and sometimes I think maybe it seems like maybe there's a couple of them that are traveling, and maybe they fight in the same gym or something. So then they're not just there for one guy; they're for a couple guys. So it makes it interesting to where you get all these people cheering for these guys that aren't from here. They're there, they're cheering them on, and it's neat where it's not just, you're getting into a fight. There are people there rooting for them. They travel to root for them. So it's,
Did you go to state in wrestling, Nick?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that was under Ryan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had been within
What's his
the
name?
last couple of years.
Ryan
Wells.
Wells, yeah. Yeah. He's a big dude. I remember him seeing him in and out of school or whatever.
How many
the kids-
sponsors do you usually have?
It varies. Like this one, we got Gravity, the trampoline park, was a presenting sponsor, and a lot of sponsors they might not do every single show, but the support we have from local sponsors is pretty amazing, and they might do a lower level one for a couple, and they're like, next one we want to go a little bit bigger,
right.
and that's what keeps it to where we have the ticket prices we have. Because I mean, $25 seems like a lot for somebody that hadn't been,
Right,
but
right.
if you've been to any pro-am MMA shows around here, and I travel all over and go to these boxing events and stuff, we have the cheapest ticket of any pro show,
Right.
probably in the Midwest, so and the quality of fighters you're getting is second to none. So
And
that's
you can
from the
drop
sponsor.
names on them sponsors as we're talking along.
Oh, yeah.
You can, you can read them all now, or you drop them as we go. I mean, because these
I'll
are your
I'll
people.
drop them as we go. That way we don't just run through the laundry list and bore everybody. But,
Yeah, but I just want to let you know that that's,
I appreciate it because that's, like I said, that's what keeps us going is by the local support.
Yep.
And, Mo's has done the after party.
is that where
for
the
us.
after party is this year too?
For this one, it comes in handy because just location. We had done one before at the Elbow Room, which was cool, and it was Janine, and everything was awesome. But you're way over here. Well, all the fighters are staying out on 31.
Yeah.
Well, then we ran into we could not get any cab, any Uber. I was literally driving my little car, running people back and forth to the hotel. the Camo Ghost podcast guys.
Yeah.
They're like big military dudes. So we're all piled in my little car. I'm running them back and forth like. It's like, man, somebody's going to get a PI just waiting on me to get back. I mean, so it came real convenient to where the hotels in La Quinta, they all stay there.
Yeah.
You know, the event center, you know, the after party's there. One more gym hosts the weigh-ins. So everything's on one road.
Right.
You know, you guys can't get lost once you're here for the weekend. You guys, all you got to know is this road. So
931.
you can't get lost. And they
It's
all
31. It's 31. It'll never be 931.
I know. I agree that too, but and that's what I don't understand.
Are you a purist?
We're
like
gonna
I am?
we're gonna add a bypass, but we're gonna change the road that was there.
Right.
I mean, they didn't do that to.
Well, when they do like
They built 465. They
that's what I
didn't
was just
change it to 65.
right.
I mean, they made it 465, and you know, and the same way. I don't know what Kokomo.
Well, they do 270, 470 around like Denver and all that other stuff out west. When you go out west, St. Louis and all that, it's BS. I'm just putting that out there.
But so yeah, you got them right there on the road there. So are they still doing the weigh-ins? The one more gym?
Yeah, one more gym will do the weigh-ins.
That's Friday night.
Friday night, they all have to weigh in. The athletic commission sends a weigh-in witness and a certified scale, and it's
We
like
came
the
to the
real
weigh-in
deal.
a couple times. So when you were doing the weigh-in at the event center
Yeah,
in that little banquet room or whatever, we went in there one time, and then Mike was like, "Yeah, come on, Coop, you can come out here." And I thought he would just love being in the cage, and he just got out there, and he's just like, and he was doing fine out there. And was like, "Let me take a picture of you." And he was already crying. I don't know what it was that day. Maybe he was tired. I don't know. But I thought me and Mike thought he'd love it, but he got in. And he was just like,
They probably
Well, you
thought
could,
Mike was gonna fight him
he
or
might.
push him down the stairs.
We should take Oakley and Landon and Coop, put them in there, and let them do their little thing. Because those boys,
They're bouncing off Lisa's bed.
Yeah, instead of tearing my bedroom up.
yeah, I mean, beating each other up.
Oakley's getting punched in the face, cries for 2 minutes, and he's fine.
He's back out there, and now that kid is like wrestling and just like crack cocaine. I've never seen a kid intake something so quick. Like you said,
Take him
Cooper did the same.
into GAHA. They have kids program.
And I'm gonna.
Kids jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. I should get him into that. He wrestled last year at Northwestern, Coop did, and he got into like wrestling, like, you know, wrestling. He got into that last year. He watched it with my dad a little bit on Monday nights, I think, and then I bought him the game on the PlayStation, the WWE 2K19 or what have you. And it's got old wrestlers and new wrestlers on it, and he just kind of, so he's taken off with the wrestling. He was all set. He was going to have an Army birthday, and then he'd been talking about it for almost a year, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's going to be wrestling. So, and I went to, what is it on Tuesday nights? What do they have?
Raw.
No,
No,
Raw.
not Raw.
Something-
I watched it. I
something
happened to
slam.
watch it.
I don't know what it is. They got different stuff. You know, now it's like it's all WWE, but they got Raw, and those guys that are in Raw, they just fight in Raw, and then there's guys that
SmackDown.
SmackDown is on Tuesday, and those guys only fight in SmackDown. I'm like, well, how come there's not like a title where they fight? I don't know.
That's probably at the very end. That's probably when they do the
WrestleMania or something,
WrestleMania or
yeah.
SummerSlam or one of the big events. They make them fight each other probably.
I think they still fight each other because it's like that Kofi Kingston. This dude had to fight
Love him.
7 dudes to get into to make it to the WrestleMania, but then he fought somebody in the same thing, you know. So it wasn't like he was fighting somebody over in Raw. So
It was
I don't
weird.
know.
It was real strange.
It's too much. There's too many.
And those guys hold a super weird schedule, like a horrible. It used to be real bad, like 300 days a year or something like that. 300 days a year. So their physical fitness is unbelievable. That's why these guys too. When you come to these fights, and I look at these kids, I'm like, gee. I mean, obviously they're mostly younger kids, but there's a few older ones out there. But man,
I've
I'm
had
like,
some old timies. I've had some good ones. I had Travis Fulton and Jonathan Ivey fight. That's a crazy story for you.
Yeah,
That's the one that went on Sports Illustrated.
Right, yeah, and
and
they went-
everything. It went viral. It was
Yes.
pretty crazy.
Really?
Yeah, and at the time, like Travis Fulton, he had his record was 200 and I'll have to check again. I think
I'll
it's
Google that
250
for you.
It's 250. I'll be real close. I think it's 255 and 54 is his record. So he'd have a 25-5 record 10 times over, more wins than anybody in MMA history. And he was fighting Jonathan Ivey, who had more leg lock victories than anybody in MMA history, and had like 100 fights of his own. So when they fought, it became the most fights of any bout because they had the most fights between them. And one global in Russia, them fucking Russians, beat my record, dude, just recently, like last week, like April 6th. They had Travis Fulton fight this guy named Shannon Rich and beat my record and made it like a big to-do about,
Do we need to hack their computer systems?
No, but I'll send you a video of Adolf Finkelstein and Donald Trump in Russia.
Really?
Yeah, at an MMA show that Putin was at.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 254 wins, 319 mixed martial arts fights he fought. 94 by knockout, 152 by submission. He only lost 54 of those fights. It's pretty damn good.
Right, that's a 25-5
That's
record 10
that's
times
awesome.
over. And there's UFC champions that don't have a 25-5
That
record.
guy's got to be tired or crippled now.
And he just fought April 6th.
He just
He
fought
just
Russian.
fought, they actually did the
43.
show in California. A Russian promotion did a show in California and beat my world record.
42 years old, that guy? 42,
Google
43.
it. Google M1 Global.
M1 Global?
That Travis Fulton, just hit Travis Fulton M1 Global, and they'll bring up Shannon Rich, and they'll be bragging about having the biggest fight, the most fight.
Right.
So it took a Russian to beat some little show in Kokomo, Indiana. So I got that feather in my hat.
You're like Bernie Sanders.
It's like Red Dawn. Wolverines, man. Like, I've been trying to fight Russians since I was 8 years old, dude. I've been waiting for an opportunity, and this might be the reason I do it.
Yeah?
To be honest with you, it hurt my feelings.
You gonna go to Russia or you want it done here?
Huh?
You want to do it here?
No, I probably will not go to Russia because Adolf Finkelstein is very well connected to the Russian mob. So I probably shouldn't even be even on this little podcast. That's probably they've already heard it.
You probably have.
They've hacked it and they've heard it. But yeah,
The first thing that pops up on this, okay?
Adolf Finkelstein Russian mob, doesn't it? Or does it not?
No, it just says Travis Fulton M1 Global against Shannon Rich. That's one of them. And then I can't even pronounce that guy's name. Let's see, M1 Global. No, the headliner is Dakota Cochran. Do you know who Dakota Cochran is? I don't know, but the first thing it says is prior gay porn dude.
Wow.
Sorry,
Sometimes he can handle pain.
Dude, that's not the only one. The
So
worst one.
I did the Travis Fulton M1 Global, and it didn't. I mean, it's got the stuff. Shannon
No
Rich.
stories down here? Anyways, this is...
Anyway, I'm promising you, it's at the
Oh, I believe you. I'm just saying.
And
Battle in the Desert. No,
So let's
that'd
see
be it.
that'd be it right there.
Let's beat it. Is there someone else? If we get those same guys to fight for you, then you beat the record again, right?
Yeah, but Travis Fulton murdered that. Not really, but he beat that dude. And Shannon Rich is 50 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
Not
okay.
that Travis
To find
Fulton,
someone that had that much, they
Right,
had to
they
go
had
out
to,
and find somebody.
that is just no. It was a good fight, and I'm glad Travis won. You know?
Yeah.
So, but it was it hurt my feelings.
Let's get revenge.
Right. I guess that's Travis Fulton hadn't had an MMA fight in a minute.
Yeah.
And then he fights for me, it goes kind of viral, and then they kind of one up me. And that ain't a coincidence.
Right. Oh, no.
Yeah,
They meant to do that for their publicity.
Right.
They seen what you got publicity-wise, and then...
It didn't work for him, obviously. He's
Right.
having trouble because it ended up just more being a fight. What made this go viral was the fluke thing that Jonathan Ivey was actually beating Fulton and then stops and goes and taps out. That's what made their fight go viral. It wasn't necessarily the amount of fights between them. It was because it was such a weird way that it ended. And then you got Jonathan Ivey, who's got Fulton's portrait tattooed on his leg, and you know, it becomes this weird like story. And
they didn't make a show about that.
Oh, dude, it could have been a movie the way that the BJPen.com wrote this story. Like, Saturday night, I went to bed mad, and then Sunday morning, I wake up and I'm like, people are sending me all these stories. It's all over, you know? And I'm like, and I read the BJPen.com one. It's like, that's not what happened. I mean, it is, but it was like. It sounded like a movie. You know, he was just, this is his hero, and he's, you know, beating the break and just couldn't anymore. And then the way that the guy wrote it was so, like, artistically done. I'm reading it like, man, this is so much cooler than what I remembered happening. You know, like, this is like.
I think maybe Mike was telling the story, maybe. That's why he let it talk.
No, dude, it was on Showtime, that Fighter and the Kid show with Brendan Schaub and the Below the Belt show that's on. Like, they asked if they could use the clip. A few places asked. The rest of them just
took it.
Just shared it. And,
someone interviewed you on. You were on TV, weren't you, over that one? Or?
Not on that one. I was on TV when Ivy Tech kicked me out of the event center.
Okay. I thought you were on like a fighting show.
It was Access TV. It was
about that?
MMA with Boss Rutan and all them. Yeah. That used to be on Access TV.
Okay.
That's when they interviewed me on that and put it on, which was pretty crazy.
Right. So you've been afforded the opportunity to go. Do you go to Vegas and watch the big ones like UFC?
I haven't been to Vegas, but I've been to some UFCs and Strike Force, Bellator.
I love watching it. You can ask her. I watch Bellator because usually you get to watch the main event without having to pay a shit ton of money or anything like that. So I like to watch it when I'm just sitting there chilling. I'm like, you what? Then we bet on it. You know, who's gonna win this one? This guy or this guy? And it's like
that's what I always kind of do.
I don't know the name.
Skinny black guy's gonna win.
Blue shorts.
Yes.
My girlfriend, we hadn't been dating real long, and I took her to the UFC when they came to Indianapolis, and a buddy of mine, Darren Elkins, was fighting. And, you know, I'm telling her, it's a buddy of mine. I used to take guys, and we'd go train up by Chicago with him and a group of guys, and, you know, and she thinks I'm probably full of shit. I mean, I would, you know.
Right.
But it's not like we're sitting down low, you know. We're sitting up here in the, you know, nosebleeds, but I'm telling her all this stuff, and okay, well then, after his fight and everything, is one of the earlier ones. We're walking around the concourse, and him and his wife come out, and he comes running up and jumps and like gives me a hug and everything, and he walks away. She's like, "That was the guy who just got done fighting." And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "You really know these guys?" I was like, "I swear, I'm not lying. Like, I really know that guy." Like, you know. And the same thing, like he'll come to the show sometimes. Like, if he's still, you know, in the area and he's got one of his teammates that are fighting, he comes and will hang out and stuff. And you've seen Matt Mitrione that fights for Bellator. He's there and stuff. And it's like, how do you get these guys to come? I'm like, I don't know. They just came. Like, I didn't pay any of them. You know, like they just are here because some of their teammates are fighting. You know, that Pearl Gonzalez that fought in the UFC. You know, she's been here at Kokomo and like. Was there cornering a fighter wearing a dress? I mean, she just looked like a beautiful, like a model or something. Everybody's like, "Who's that cornering Damian Norris?" And it's like, it's Pearl Gonzalez. She's a UFC fighter. You know?
Don't mess with her; she'll beat your ass.
But yeah, it's just that's the cool part is just being able, because I'm a fan, so I'm still starstruck around all these guys, and they're just like, dude, like they're just people. But I still get all goofy and giddy like a schoolgirl. It's silly. I think that's why I enjoy doing what I do. It's still fun.
So do you just promote just this? Is that all strictly, or do you promote other things too?
I just, the fight stuff.
That's a lot of time. I'm sure it consumes a lot of time.
Well, I mean, it's one of those, like, if you ask my girlfriend, I'll do anything. And then, like, the week of the fights, I'm crazy. But, no, I mean, it takes time, and it's something I enjoy doing. So, like, I go to a lot of these gyms and meet the fighters and take them tickets and posters and shake their hand and get a picture. And I don't necessarily have to do it myself, but I enjoy it. You know what I mean? I like going to gyms and talking to coaches, and I've met some really good friends doing it. You know what I mean? One of the guys I met, he just passed away, and I didn't realize how hard it hit me until it hit me. You know what I mean? And he had been battling cancer. I thought he was doing better. He was really good at keeping secrets and made it seem like he was better and going to be at the fights, and it didn't pan out. And I tell you what, like, it was like shit. And then my daughter would go with me as the Van Camps coach, you know, and the Van Camps are very cute boys. And so as a little girl, she liked to go to, it was one of the gyms that, and then you start thinking about, man, I'll probably, we'd go to this gym, we'd go to this little restaurant around the corner called the Forum in Crawfordsville, and it's like, you start thinking of all these memories, and it's all based on this gym, and this guy, and, his family, and his, and it's like, it hits you. It's like, man, I've spent a lot of time with these people, just like any job, Chrysler or whatever, and it didn't, like, I don't know, I don't think it affects me. I don't think I realize how close I've gotten to some of these people till something like that happens, and it's like, man, like, that really hurt a lot, hard, that was rough, so, but, it's just, I enjoy doing it, and once it kind of became my job, it's like, well, I'm going to put as much effort and time as I can into it and make it as successful as I can. And I got a ton of people that help me, whether it's sponsors or friends or family that put their time into it. And it's like, man, let's see if we can build it. And now, with, like he was saying earlier, you can only do so many shows in Kokomo. I can't do 10 shows in Kokomo, but I can still do the 5 in Kokomo. We're even looking at Michigan, doing a couple shows in Michigan each year. My girlfriend's family's up there. I like going up there. It's like I'll do a couple shows there, maybe one in Lafayette. Well, now I'm doing 10 shows a year. Well, the people in Lafayette, they see a show, they're going to come to the other 4 or 5 in Kokomo. So it's just, I don't know. It's a way to hopefully like expand the fan base with still keeping it local, keeping it homegrown, still doing the same amount of shows we've always done in Kokomo, but then still expanding it to where now more people are coming when we do the ones in Kokomo.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
What's your biggest attendance thus far?
It'd be, I think, 1360 was the record, and that's a lot of that's. And the commissioner.
I'm kidding.
No,
Everybody's lined up for the bathroom.
What's crazy is that one
was awesome.
we'd hit 1300 before I had to go to the Armory. Well, the Armory max capacity, 800, and that was pushing it. So you're talking now. There's 400 or 500 tickets, so there's $10,000, $12,000 I didn't get to make a show for all them years at the Armory. People think, oh, I could have went to Indy. My license is with the state of Indiana, not Kokomo. I could have went and left and probably made a lot of people happy if I had, but I didn't. I was like, no, I'm doing it here in my own town and gonna make it cool, as cool as I can make it. And now that we're back here at the event center with 80-inch screens and all that, there's room to grow it, and I can rent bleachers. We can fit more than 1,300 people in there. You've been there, and we've got the curtain up. We can move that curtain back and add a few sections of bleachers and get 1,500. And that's what I want to do, is make it as big as we can make it.
And now we could pull a bunch of mattresses out of that other room.
Right.
So there.
And we have another fight.
Have a pillow fight. You could have a pillow fight.
That's right, we could.
Only if it's down feathers, because I want to
Do that for intermission. You go
I don't want
there and have
I don't
a
want a
pillow
smart
fight.
pillow.
Let's do it. But Slim Brady's got to call us up.
I would cheat like I have everything else in my life. I put a padlock in mine. And knock your teeth out. I would win that just like anything I've ever. I will try and cheat at.
But you know
anything.
what? That may go viral there.
Right.
Especially in town. They'll be like, oh my God, Mark Slater just knocked the fuck out of Jimmy Shaw. And it'd be like everyone's watching Endgame at the movie theaters. They're like,
I think think there'd be just as many people upset that you didn't knock the shit out of me.
There may be. Maybe we'll have a double knockout.
Oh, that has happened before.
We'll probably get it
Has
on
happened. I've
Sports
seen
Center.
that viral video, and Shoney Carter was the referee of the MMA fight.
Yeah.
And it was funny because he didn't know what the hell to do. They're both like dead dick stiff, arms like this. You know what I mean? It ain't like one of them's gonna get up in a second.
Right,
you know?
right, yeah.
And it's like he's just looking like, what the hell do I do?
Did you have a win for that?
I guess
scored
I guess it'd be ruled no contest.
Oh, yeah, no contest.
Or maybe would it be a draw?
Or would they go by points?
Do they rule
It
it
wasn't a
that?
point. It was the first
Oh, yeah.
two. I mean,
Okay.
they came out very first punch, both of them.
Oh, no shit.
Dude, the whole fight didn't last 5 seconds.
Oh,
It was
man.
crazy.
Oh, that is awesome.
Double knockout MMA.
Yep. And it happened at the LFC in Indianapolis. It should be a red mat if it's the one.
The red mat match.
And Shoney Carter would be the referee.
There's a red mat.
Ready? Yeah. Ready?
Now what? Wait for it.
There's like a kick. Oh, wait. We're gonna play it. Here we go.
Maybe it is longer than 6 seconds.
No, it's 12.
Okay. Well, and 6 of that's him going like this.
Yeah. So you guys listen to the podcast. Google this.
Bam!
Oh shit! He had a stiff arm.
They were.
I told you they were. I guess that's not the proper terminology, but my whole life that's been dead dick stiff. When you're unconscious and you're asleep, but your arms are stiff out in front of you.
Yeah.
Whatever that happens, that's what's on that video.
So Google double knockout.
I double
MMA.
knockout MMA IFC Indianapolis.
LFC.
Or sorry,
Yeah,
LFC.
LFC would be the
I
one.
apologize.
It probably still brought it up, but yeah, it'll.
I put LFC. I just can't read.
Yeah, they used to do a
From
show.
Kokomo.
They used to do a show at the 8 Second Saloon
Oh yeah.
in Indy. So, buddy, there'd be as many fights out in the crowd as there were in it. My dad, because I'd go. I've been, went to Cage Rage back in the day. I've been to shows all over around here and different sizes, venues. I mean, from anything. And my dad had always asked me why I wouldn't take him to that. And I said, Dad, I just, there's like times we gotta like move out of the way of tables and chairs, and it's not a place I'd like to take 70-year-old man to watch fights.
Yeah.
I mean, you can
There's no getting away really there.
no, and then we said there was a video, and I can't remember what it'd be under, but it was kind of that, like of just a melee at one of their shows, and I showed it to Dad, and he said, I don't reckon I do want to go to that. I didn't reckon you did.
I was gonna say about.
I reckon that for you.
At your event, the Colosseum Combat event, the 3 or 4 that I've been to, there's never any like riffraff. Like if there is riffraff, they're taking them. They escort them out, or they ask them to calm down. Especially people that I've seen people that have been drinking a little bit too much, and a police officer is always there's always a sheriff's officer. There's always somebody there, and it's not like the fights are in the cage, and then once the sportsmanship is bar none.
Right, and sometimes you'll
They
get
get a little heated.
a teammate. It's usually a teammate, and there might be fans that accidentally didn't know they were sitting next to the fans of their the opponent, and sometimes they just get too close and they're screaming, "Kill that guy!" Well, now you're saying, "Kill that guy" to my nephew or whatever. So sometimes you might have words exchanged in the crowd, but like. Yeah, we nip it in the bud and are always proactive, and we always have Howard County Sheriff's Department's there, full uniform.
The thing about that is that I think people, or even Kokomo people, may be smart enough to know that you don't know who you're fucking with there, because that guy that is there that looks like a pretty boy or just a little small dude, he may be a teammate. And an MMA fighter that's just not fighting that, or maybe he is fighting that night, because when they're not fighting they're walking around in their sweats or what. I mean, they're not all suited up with tape while they're walking around the whole time. They're blended in with the thing until it's time for them to go back, or after they're done, they're out there, So, you'd be dumb to get your drink on and start a fight in there. You got to use a little bit of common sense when you do these.
And part of it too, like you take your boy there, my daughter's there, and even if me and you don't like each other, if I got my daughter there and your son's there, we might look at each other funny or say something like, "If you weren't with your kid,"
Right.
but we're not gonna fight. It kind of calms the herd having a family friendly.
And most people.
You know
Most people
I mean.
get that.
Most people.
Most people.
But I've also, I've been to shows, like I said, that are in a bar or a casino, and it's everybody's 21 and over, and it's still the same gyms represented for the most part. It's still the same fans represented for the most part, but it's a different vibe and a different feeling.
It is.
And I think a lot of it is the fact, and like this last one, I said something about being family friendly, and I got an email because the music, it's like, I tell, you can't put your finger on every single thing, and I've talked to, this is the first time the guy had ever DJ'd. Like Austin saved the day by kind of filling in last moment because we had some issues, and he's playing what these guys are giving him, in between he might have played, but if that's the worst complaint we have is because this lady, and I felt bad, I apologize to her.
But the kids got to actually be listening to the music, and they're probably not.
Right, I mean, are they listening to every word and trying to understand?
Right. And I understand that you don't want your kid around it, but, because it's there, Cooper's there, and, Cooper's probably different than most kids. He's used to that language. He's used to that language. I mean, probably from his mom. I'm kidding.
And dude, my kids are there. My parents are there. It ain't like I'm trying to place my aunt's there. She's coming from Converse. She's 80 years old. Do you think I'm trying to play something that It's like, no, I'm just you gotta.
It is what
rely.
it is.
Yeah, it's music. It's not
It's music, and
that's
it's
the
got
worst
to be.
thing.
I like the music.
It's got to be what the people. Well, yeah, I seen you dancing.
Yeah, you
I
gotta.
did.
That's a lie.
Well, they get some hyped up. I mean,
You gotta
that's
fill
what
the void.
fill-
I mean,
right,
and
right.
it's fights. I mean, you're not gonna play something that's just
You don't want to
in
hear
between.
Barry Manilow in between fights.
So, but I did.
Unless you're going to start serving pina coladas. I mean,
I did ask, talk to him, and it's like, yeah, we'll look a little harder for radio edits this time. And he was, oh yeah, no problem. I was like, dude, you didn't do anything wrong. I mean, you played exactly what Matt would have for the most part. There's times even Matt, I'd text him, be like, Matt, really? Come on, dude. And we'd kind of grin about it, but I mean, we try and make it as family friendly as a fight's gonna be. And even in the UFC, they're bleeping out guys, and our fighters are respectful to where they're usually not dropping F-bombs. The worst cases, like I said, it's usually the music will have something, and we do try. It's just you can't catch everything.
you can't. But there's always going to be somebody trying to pick something apart.
And we try. I mean, and like you said, for the most part, there isn't trouble, there isn't fights, there's not,
I've never seen a fight when I've been with Coop. I mean, there's been, and I think that might have been during the boxing matches too.
I'm telling you, at ours, there's never been. There was one time I'd call it a physical altercation, but it was the mother of one fighter and the girlfriend of another.
Yeah.
And the fight ended for a second because they weren't. The guy got spiked kind of weird on his head. They weren't sure it wasn't an illegal move. Yeah, it was kind of like a spiked.
Right.
He did kind of. So the ref stopped it for a minute, gave this guy a minute to recover from the illegal move. Well, in the middle of that, and it was the fans were too close. See, too close. And, well, that's my son. Well, that's my boyfriend. And the next thing you know, one's got a hold of the other one's hair. But the cops and security, everybody was there before it escalated out of that. And then 39 shows as promoter, that's the one time I remember somebody actually, putting hands on somebody and they had to,
separate them.
Physically separate somebody. But, I mean, as far as, like you said, people acting disrespectful, I'll have them leave then before it gets silly. You know what I mean?
And I don't see that. I mean, if it happens, I don't see it.
It's like you said, somebody's drinking too much, whatever, cops will come, and it's proactive versus waiting until there's just some ridiculous scenario where people are trying to fight. Usually you can nip it in the bud or kind of see trouble before it happens. At least I bounced in bars back in the day. So
matter of fact, I met him when he was the bouncer / beer guy. Is that when we met?
Yeah.
Yeah. at upstairs at the Laugh House. He was working his shows like Jay Schneider and with Donnie Baker. Was it that
Donnie
night?
Baker, Steve-O.
Yeah. So they had him back in the corner.
Like Steve-O from Marion or
No.
the Steve-O,
Steve-O.
the skateboard
Jackass.
guy?
Jackass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they put Mark over in the corner.
Security, beer man,
Beer
everything.
man, yeah, and that was one guy that the promoter upstairs didn't stiff on
On pay?
on pay. So we got another fight you want to talk about?
Oh, all of them. No, there's.
No, we can talk about all of them. That's what we're here for. So
The and last show he'd fought also. There's actually a guy here they'll be fighting that has a Super Bowl ring that.
Oh, yeah?
For he won us when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won. He was a linebacker with them. Played at IU. Originally from Indiana, but he is a math teacher in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
oh yeah,
What
who's
a
this?
rough job.
Justin C. Smith.
Justin C. Smith.
Last
So he
time,
has a Super Bowl ring, huh?
yes, he does.
That's crazy.
Google it.
No,
Google
I'm
it. Google it.
good on.
That's my answer to everything. Because when I was a
And he's a
kid,
Googler.
yeah, when I was a
We
kid,
do
there
a lot of
wasn't
Googling on
Google.
this.
It was Ask My Mom.
Yeah.
Remember that
Yeah.
shit?
Yeah.
When you're like in an argument with your buddy, be like, "Oh, you ask my mom."
Ask my mom. Google is the new Ask My Mom.
It is, and I
So Justin C. Smith, that fight, Super Bowl ring. Is he going to bring it and show it off? We had a Super Bowl champion as well out at the Vietnam grounds last year. Hunter, the punter Smith, has a band.
Really?
right,
Yeah, and we had him out there at the sandbox
He was
last
a
year.
backup. Was a backup for Vinatieri when they won, right?
He was a backup for
He
Vinatieri.
was a backup for Vinatieri when they won. He was playing for the Colts then.
He was a punter. Vinatieri was a.
Or I'm
Kicker,
sorry, Adam.
yeah.
Or no,
Yeah.
He was the punter then. Hunter the punter. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they don't usually keep backup punters on the team.
They do well. I mean, the punter like Pat McAfee was also
The
the
backup.
backup
Backup,
quarterback.
yeah, and then
He's
backup
quarterback.
kicking field goals. I mean, they got
They
extra
have a.
duties.
They don't. Yeah. They got a
I
scrub.
wonder if they get extra pay for that. Hey man, I had a feeling for Manning. I should get Manning's pay.
for that one
For
play.
that
One game.
play.
One play.
But yeah, he was. I mean, that's a legit athlete, though. you
Yeah.
know. And the last show, he ended up like slamming this dude on his head, to where I thought he killed him. Like
Yeah.
it was brutal.
Yeah.
And that kid ended up coming back and winning by a submission.
Yeah.
So we're bringing Justin Smith back. He was like, "Man, I want another shot." And how do you say no? It's like, well, yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
You know, to fly up from the U.S. Virgin Islands to Kokomo? Come on.
Yeah.
I
Well, we
like
say, how many people are from out of town? Nobody's got anything on Justin C. Smith. He's from out of town.
Yeah. But he's originally from Indianapolis.
Right.
So it gives him a chance
Went
to
to
go
Warren
visit.
Central.
Yeah. So, but he's fighting a kid from Marion that's like pretty dangerous fella.
Yeah.
And it's hard to match up a guy that's like, yeah, he's only got a couple pro fights, but he used to play in the NFL, and his last fight he lost, but look what he did to this guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He got tired from slamming this guy so many times they eventually got submitted and lost. But
Yeah.
look what he did to him. You know, you
Yeah.
want to fight him, and there ain't a whole lot of people.
Do you ever have any fighters who are like, no, I'm not fighting that guy?
Yeah, it happens a lot. And then you get in a weird scenario because, like, some guys might have great records but haven't fought anybody tough, and you might have a guy that has a terrible record but all of his losses are to guys that are tough. So it's like, man, even though these records look totally off, I bet you'd make a good fight. And sometimes you get those matchups to where, and they are, you're right. You know, you're like, this guy can hang with that kid even though his record ain't as good. It's because his losses are the top-notch guys, and this guy might have beaten everybody he's ever faced, but he hasn't faced anybody as tough as the guys that have
Yeah.
beat this guy.
And
So
will they
is
go
that-
by weight? Is that how they do?
Yeah.
How you match them up? Weight?
Real quick, the last one or the one before, was it Shanks that a couple weeks got in there and fight? What's his name? Who did that?
Schaefer.
Schaefer,
It
yeah.
was the day of.
Day of? Yeah. So tell
got-
that story.
It was an amateur fight, so amateurs are a little different than pros. Like, it wouldn't have been able to happen on the pro card because all their stuff would already had to been into the commission and all
Right.
that. But since it was an amateur fight and Schaefer's blood work, physical, everything was good, there was a guy that came in and didn't have all his proper blood work, paperwork with him. And usually they have it at weigh-ins. He's like, I'll have it tomorrow. Well, when he brought it, there is like the wrong hepatitis B test. It has to be like a service antigen test, and he got the service antibody test, and well, that doesn't work. So you don't get a fight, you know. So this other kid is crying because he sold like 100 tickets to his whole family's there, everybody's there to see him, you know, and he's not going to be able to fight now. He's trained 6 weeks, you know. So Schaefer's like, well, man, could I fight him? I mean, my blood work's good, and I was like, I don't know. I don't even know if they'll let that happen at this point, and the commissioner's like, it's an AMI, and I have the say, and so yeah, we can make that happen if they weigh within so many pounds. Do a scale down. They came over. They were within that limit. Fights a go. Schaefer runs home, grabs his stuff, comes back, fights that night. It was
Wow.
it was nuts.
Who won that fight?
The other kid, but it was a decision.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's cool though that he got to fight still.
He got to fight, and I didn't have 100 pissed off people that bought tickets that are now, even though they're going to watch the show, they're going to wait until that point and be like, well, I want my money back. I came to see this one single kid. And, I mean, typically you don't, of course, do that, but then you still are that asshole.
That was an awesome story, though.
Yeah.
So
Oh, dude.
and it was a good fight.
Yeah. Well, then Schaefer fought a guy I went to school with. Eric Funkhauser, who was like a stud wrestler out at Western, you know, they were going to fight. Funkhauser, you know, being old, drinks a Monster or whatever, well, they check your blood pressure and everything before they let you fight. You know, the doctor, they have a pre-fight physical. His blood pressure's too high. They're not going to let him fight, you know. And Schaefer's like freaking out because, you know, and this is like all the way down to like, we're talking like minutes before they fight. And it's finally like he's laying down, like trying to do anything he can to lower his blood pressure to where they, you know, they let it happen. But it was more of just like nerves. And then he did. I mean, and they even tell you, curb that. And once, a lot of people don't know this, once they are seen by the doctor, they can't have any caffeine. They're when you see them go to the bathroom and there's somebody walking with them when they go, that's I call them shadows, they call them inspectors, but those are people appointed from the athletic commission in Indianapolis, and they follow them to the bathroom to make sure they're not
juicing or whatever.
anything, you know, taking an amphetamine or, you know, anything.
Right.
So once they're seen by the doctor, they can't have any caffeine. They can have water, Pedialyte, Gatorade, that type of stuff, but nothing with caffeine. There's one kid that has asthma and has an inhaler. Like, they got to keep that, and he can only, you know, have it like certain times.
Oh, really?
It's like pretty crazy.
Because it's a steroid.
Right, or there's something in there that is a little bit of a, not an amphetamine, but a little bit of a stimulant. There we go, stimulant. So, but yeah, and then like any title fight, they take them right after the fight and give them a 9-panel drug screen. And,
I didn't know that.
What kind of money, like, do the amateurs get paid, or is that just strictly?
That's amateur. Yeah.
So they don't get paid. You don't have to pay them, but the guys from the main events or
all the pros
features
get
and all that
paid.
stuff.
Yeah, all the pros get paid, and the amateurs, I can't pay them to fight, but they can get a ticket commission. So if they're hustling tickets, you know, they could. I've had amateurs make $700-800 because they're hustling tickets, and then they might even go and get a couple sponsors that throw money, so then they're making money beyond that to fight. So they can still do okay, and then pros, depending on where they are in their career and opponent. I mean, you know, like at my show, yeah, you're not going to get rich, but if you're a main event, you know, you could get a couple grand, you could get $2,500. The Ivy and Fulton show, like that fight alone, I had $4 grand in. Well, and then travel and hotel, and so a little bit more. So I mean, it's not, when people see that place and they see you know 1,300 people, that doesn't mean I made $30,000.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like that's, you know, I haven't paid anybody, and the commission gets 6% of the gate. You know, so or sorry, they get 5% of the gate. they appoint all the referees, the judges, the timekeeper, the doctor, and tell me what I'm paying them. That's $1,600 just in those officials. Insurance for the fighters, so it's like people think, you just put it on a fight, and it just happens, and all these people. Yeah, it's like, no, there's, you're gambling money to make some. You're gambling 20 grand hoping you bring in 28, or whatever. But you're not. You're looking at 20 grand before anybody walks in the door for sure. And then there's all the little stuff of even security. Howard County Sheriff's Department, they're not just doing it because they want to. You get paid them, and Brady Davis, our ring announcer, he gets paid.
Slim Brady.
The beautiful ring girls, they get a little bit of money, and so I mean, it takes a little bit to put on a show. Comedy. Them guys aren't coming and doing it for nothing, especially a headliner. And people don't see that part of it. They just see he's doing this, so that's all profit. There's a lot of overhead, and sometimes
you got to rent the event center.
It's a business.
In the ring, you rent that too?
I own that.
You own that?
Yeah, the cage is mine. The event center, they work with me pretty good to where I can't. I'm happy with them, and then they own the La Quinta, so I put the fighters there. And you try to support those that support you, and there's times I have 3,000 in the hotel bill by the end of the weekend. The fighters weigh in on Friday, so there's 2
Do you
nights.
usually accommodate those guys?
Yeah, 2
they
nights.
pay for them?
Yeah, so I think the most I had was like it might have been 13, 15 rooms I paid for 2 nights, and it's a nice hotel. They're not doing that for $50 a night.
Right.
So, but the fighters appreciate it because it is a nice hotel, and then they've stayed at other places for other promotions, and then when they come here, like, man, they feel appreciated. You know what I mean?
Amateurs, you're staying at the Kokomo Motel.
Yeah, all you guys are down the
Room
road.
5.
Okay, room 5. It's very, very notorious.
You're all staying there.
I shoot out this one coach messaged me. He's like, man, they're trying to get my guys to stay in a hostel. I was like, what? He's like, I'm not lying. He said it's like, this big room, and then you share a bathroom, and he's like trying to make it seem like it was, he was doing them a favor by putting them in this. And, dude, I see the messages. I was like, man, I don't know. That's up to you. But have I ever asked you to do that?
Yeah.
Would you do that for me? And then he replied, he kind of got what I was saying. I wouldn't ever let, you treat us good, and I wouldn't let you get away with this shit. Why am I letting this guy do it? So he ended up messaging like, man, we'll still come and fight, but you got to put us in a different room. I ain't sharing some big,
Right.
one big room that however many guys are in bunk beds, and they share a common bathroom with a guy they might be fighting later that day. It's like, no way. He's like, dude, I swear. He's like, it just seemed really sketchy. Like, well, if it seems really sketchy, man, I'd say probably not. Yeah, I'd probably
those guys were probably saying, now, how are we going to put these guys up? Hey, you know what?
I found a place.
Found a place.
The warehouse will live.
They've already got the bunk beds already in there.
I've seen some silly stuff on the road, cornering guys and going to shows, and I encourage fighters to go to other shows because it's then they appreciate it when they come back.
Right.
Here.
Yeah.
And I've had that Thomas Gifford, and his dad had just made a post of how awesome it was coming to Kokomo, and they're from Arkansas. His son's getting ready to make his UFC debut, and he's making a post about this fight that they had in April in Kokomo on his Facebook memories, and talking about how awesome it was and great fight promotion. And I don't think people locally per se understand what happens at that event.
No, they take advantage. I mean, they whenever you've had something that's been ran well for so long, you expect it, and you don't understand what that same product, not the same product, but a product like
Similar,
that product in another area, you're getting, you're not getting that. It's different. So,
and I've been to some of those, and I've encouraged other fighters too to go and experience that, and then they're like, yeah, I guess you're not such an asshole now that I've really seen somebody that is.
And then there's also the political aspect when you're talking about going to other fights and stuff. And we had this conversation. There's people that they're not allowed to fight for you because they're in some other thing where you don't care who fights where.
Yeah, I don't want to hamper a guy, so, and I've had guys with me that have even had contracts signed into the commission, and they get a call, to go to the UFC at last minute. I'm not going to make them honor my contract,
right? Yeah,
and lose out on an opportunity.
Right.
So I don't have any. I've never had a promotional contract. The only thing I've had is for a bout. So when they have a contract with me, it's for that bout, not for a Colosseum Combat promotion. You can only fight for me for a year, and any other fight you have to have within 45 days.
Yeah.
And even like Bellator, I've had like Ryan Thomas, Chase Beebe used to be a world champ. Like some of them guys that fought, they were signed to Bellator. Bellator didn't have a fight for them immediately. So they will give them a release to fight for a show like mine to keep them active until they get a fight for them.
Right.
So, and they don't do that with every show.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
Right.
got to be somebody that they know it's still going to be a legitimate win for them. It's still,
Right.
Not. And so that's been cool
Not
too.
someone's
I've
backyard.
not just some thrown together promotion that, who knows what's going to happen. So they.
Fighting in an armory or some small Indiana
In
town.
the town. No. Well, dude, and even like up until recently, like I said, 2010 is when Indiana got sanctioned. So we're talking, this is still relatively new sport as far as sanctioned. And
Right.
Prior to that, dude, it was, if you had a cage, you could set it up in a parking lot and have a fight, and then nobody was the wiser. Nobody had blood work. Hell, I fought in a skating rink. So it was just a different time, and you'd go in, you might not even know who you were fighting until a day or two ahead. Going there like, who is it? Oh, it's that guy. Okay, it's a little different, but that's okay. That'll work. He's out there smoking cigarettes, so hopefully I got better cardio. And it was just kind of like a Wild West.
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be times you'd have your buddies there and somebody'd fall off, so they'd be, hey man, do you want to fight tonight with this guy? And if he had his stuff in the car, then I guess I will, man. And you'd have guys that were pros fighting amateurs, and there wasn't anybody that said you couldn't.
Right.
I mean, David Love, he'd fought in Bodog on pay-per-view in Costa Rica, and then he's here in Kokomo fighting some 18-year-old kid that doesn't know what he's doing. You're just like, man, this is crazy. Like, why is this even happening? So it was one of those things. Once sanctioning got into it, a whole lot of people disappeared. And I mean, I always said I succeeded because they had the bar set so low, but it was true. It was like just by not being a total shitball, and trying, just not lying to people and paying people what I told them. And a lot of guys would promise them the world and not deliver on anything. Well, I would just kind of be honest and do what I said, and over time, I'm still here, and everybody else kind of faded away and didn't want to do it right and didn't want the state in their pocket and looking over their shoulder. And fighters have to have blood work, physicals, licenses, contract. I mean, you got to turn all that in. The state comes and takes part of your gate and takes all your tickets and makes sure you're not lying. And so they didn't want to do it correctly, or couldn't do it.
It's nice to know that because, like you said, if you go out there, a lot of people, like you said, "Oh, I made 30. You made 30 grand tonight, Mark," and then you're like, you just don't understand. Well, this gives you, this podcast, not just this podcast, but your friends and people that don't know about it. Here you go. Like they're gonna be like, "Oh wow, I didn't know it. It really entails all that," because I didn't know it entailed. I mean, I knew what it entailed. I knew about sanctioning and all that stuff because I've seen fights like boxing matches that had to be relocated to say a different country because Nevada wouldn't sanction
License
license a guy because he's banned in that town or that whatever state. And I've seen that, and people don't think about that. They really don't. And now,
Is there any fighters banned from Colosseum Combat?
I've had a couple that I'd say would never fight for me, and a few I said never fight for me again. But I don't hold grudges too long. Like one of the guys that was the biggest asshole. I've driven him tickets, and I've cornered him, and we've been friends since then. But he had to learn, no, that's disrespectful. And what it was, it ended up being kind of funny because, like you were talking about, he fought and didn't understand how the commission worked. So he was gonna fight for me. Something happened. All I wanted him was to make sure he got the tickets back to me. Because it was one of those where the VIP were sold out. I didn't have any. I need these tickets back. You've signed this contract saying you'd return them or the money at weigh-ins. And he pretty much, F you type thing. I'll mail them to you. Well, I'm not going to have them, by the time I need them. So, no, that's not acceptable. I made sure you had them. You make sure I get them back. And he didn't think that was important. So I showed everything to the commission. They had him suspended. So he made a big post that he didn't care if he ever fought for me again. He doesn't need my show. He'll fight for somebody else. And I just put a little smiley face with the sunglasses. And one of his teammates was like, "Hey, dumb shit, you're suspended. You can't fight anywhere in the country." You know what I mean? This is like, this
across the board.
Yeah, right? ABC, the Associated Boxing Commissions.
Done.
You can fight in Indian reservations is about it. Otherwise, you got to fight out of country.
Right.
And he's like, "Well, then I'll box." And then they said,
"No,
it's the same commission. You're done until you make things right with him." So then, hey, I was waiting for that email, And, he made it right. I told him he had to come and set up the cage and work it off, and I never really made him do it. You know what I mean? But just the fact that he knew
He
that.
tried to make it right.
Right, he tried to make it right, and I was like, dude, we're cool. That's all I wanted was like for you to realize and then understand what you're doing. Instead, just you being an asshole wasn't doing you any favors because the more that you're being an asshole, and I was just gonna let him. You know what I mean? Just kept letting him, but then, like I said, I just cornered him in Kentucky. Drove to Kentucky to corner him at a fight. He didn't. And have driven him tickets. He trains in Danville, Illinois. Driven him tickets. Met with him since then, and he's fought, a couple times since, but it was one of those, I was like, I'll never have this kid, this disrespectful punk, but I was a disrespectful punk. You know what I mean? I was 22 years old once too and thought I knew everything, so usually I can forgive. Usually I can forgive if there's a little bit of, I feel like they've learned, and I don't mean to learn a lesson like, I taught them. I mean learn a lesson in life. I guess that was kind of a shitty thing I did. He was just trying to teach me a lesson that like you don't do that to people. Yeah. And that's once I feel like they've done that, then I'm over it. But there's still a few that ain't done that yet, and they might not ever fight for me.
The time, did you only do the weigh-in at the event center one time?
There's a couple.
Okay, so the one time when me and Cooper were there, and I don't want to say little guys because they'd probably both beat my ass, but there was two little guys, and one of them didn't have his shit together. You remember what I'm talking about? And the other one, the little redheaded guy, fought this last fight. You remember that whole situation?
Yeah.
There's maybe he was
he was
Hispanic dude, maybe.
He's actually like Thai.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But he didn't. Is the same type of thing. He'd had everything done, but he didn't have the results. Mm-hmm. And by the time that the office was closed, he couldn't get the results. They had them. Mm-hmm. He had no way to get them until Monday. At this point, fights are Saturday. And stuff like that happens. Typically, I'm on them, what I mean? And then the commission will send them reminders, hey, you still need this, or this. So the ones that procrastinate are always the ones that make me nervous, and and I'm pretty good about staying up on it and seeing
Right.
who needs what, but you can't hold everybody's hand. And
Right.
there's times I've literally drove people to LabCorp in Marion, sat there while they got their blood work, paid for it because it's next day results, to save a fight
Right.
versus I know they're not going to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're running out of time, and some of it might even be money, and they don't want to say, "Hey, man, I don't have the $90," and they might even think they're going to have it by Wednesday, and then
Right.
they don't, and now I'm running out of time.
Right.
So yeah, there's times I've driven them to, that's usually the quickest place. I don't know why there's not one in Kokomo, but Marion, I can drive to LabCorp. It's $89. They know all three. They'll fax it directly to the commission. Next day results, and I'm good.
Right.
Maybe I should open a lab.
So those guys ended up fighting, didn't they?
No, he didn't.
No,
get
they
his
didn't.
stuff.
I mean, not that time, but did
They
fight
did
the next,
fight
They
again,
fought the
yeah.
next time,
Yeah.
and then the redhead guy. What's his name?
The little guy's Clay Raider.
Clay Raider. Yeah, yeah, and he fought last time, right?
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, he's I call him the cat daddy because
Cat daddy.
I was looking, like, usually you'll go on Facebook and like Amos, the little Thai kid.
Yeah.
Found a picture of him, Muay Thai outfit, looking like a fighter. I'm looking through Clay's, and none of them. He looks tough. I mean, he looks like a little ginger
skinny,
leprechaun.
ginger,
Yeah. And these kids fought at 115 pounds. And they're adults. These aren't,
Right.
They're
Not
over
kids.
18.
Okay.
And so I'm going, and the only picture I could find, I was like, I'm using it, I don't care. And it's him holding his cat. And he's got glasses on. And he's like holding his cat. It's his profile pic on Facebook at the time. I use that, and it's this other kid that's, looking all tough and whatever. And so now every time Clay fights, I always use that cat picture, and it became the Cat Daddy. That's his little fat
That's awesome.
fight nickname is Clay the Cat Daddy Raider. But it doesn't, even on the ones he tried to have, like we got some at weigh-ins and one more gym, and I'm trying to take the picture,
Right.
and it's like, dude, you still look like a goofball. Dude. He like still has this goofy grin, and he still got his glasses on, and it's like, man, I'll just use the cat picture. It's cool, But yeah, Clay's a fan favorite,
Yeah.
and it's
Is he
a
from
lot.
Wabash?
Yes.
Yeah, I know who he is.
You
yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, he trains with Rocky France and all those guys.
I think my daughter's friend is dating him. Because they went to the fights with us once, and she knew him. She goes, I can't believe I know that guy, but yeah.
Yeah,
Wabash.
yeah, he's an awesome little dude. That's funny. Small world.
Yeah.
Oh, looky there.
You know what fight this is?
Is it Adam?
Yes.
He's wanting another fight.
Is he?
Who is it?
Well,
Adam, he did comedy. He came to Kokomo and did comedy one time, and then he fought. November, December.
yeah, his show before last, so it'd been
Yeah.
November.
Yeah.
He was one of the guys, and it happens a lot. I'm not going to bust his balls, but this is everything I've said to him. He's one of the guys that thought you could watch YouTube videos and fight. And I'm trying to tell him this isn't how it works, man. Like, these guys train, like legitimately train. And he kept on. So the first show, I didn't let him fight. I was like, no, dude. Like, so then the next show is like not for 8 weeks away. And he's like hounding me again and still wanting to fight this kid that is, never fought, is training out of a gym in Indy, It's like, all right, man. It's like, you go and get your blood work and physical, and you let me know that's done, and I'll make this fight happen, and, you'll have plenty of time to train. He goes and gets it done. Tell him, okay, it's a fight. You got this long to train. Tell him about gyms in that area. I mean, he's got like a great gym, and he has been training there some. I mean, it's not a few minutes from his house, but I tried to tell him, go to this gym, and he showed up, and you could tell that he'd never sparred, and that's watching on YouTube. Nobody's punching you in the face and trying to take you down.
Trying to take you down, right? Yep.
Your heavy bag isn't hitting you back. It's totally different than live action.
Right.
And if you haven't ever sparred, you don't know how you're going to react getting hit in the face. And it looked like what I expected. And that's not doing me any favors, because then it looks like I threw in a guy that doesn't know what he's doing against a guy that looks like a killer. And that guy wasn't a killer, but he had trained. He'd
He at least
sparred. He
put
had
in the
been,
time.
right,
He fought again last fight, didn't he?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Jason Carter.
Yeah. He fought again in the last fight.
Yeah.
He did. He won that
I
one.
won that one. And, but he trains at a legitimate gym. Like I tried to tell this guy that that's what people do. This isn't a Wild West, and not to be an asshole, but like his MMA debut went over like my stand-up comedy debut. It was terrible. And, and that's what happened. And since then I've told him everything I've said right now. So I don't feel like I'm talking trash, because it's not nothing personal. Again, he isn't the first time that's happened. I just, normally they go away once you tell them you gotta go get blood work, you gotta get physical, you gotta get an MMA national ID, you gotta do this, then call me. Because right now you're calling me wanting to be, you're quitting a job as an electrician, and then you're gonna ask me, well, I need tape, and where do I get wire, and how do I be an electrician? You're doing about this backwards.
Right.
You go get that stuff done. Then you ask the guy to find you a fight. You don't ask the guy to find you a fight and then figure out how to be a fighter. And a lot of them think that anybody can do it because they watched it on TV, and it don't translate well. You got to have some time, having that experience of a guy trying to hurt you. And in sparring, your teammates aren't trying to kill you, but you have that scenario of, oh shit, somebody's trying to punch me, and you could tell that, nothing against him, but you could tell in his fight video that he had
Never done that.
hadn't thought that far
So
ahead.
is he training now, you said?
Somewhat, yeah. And like anything, it takes time.
It's not overnight.
No, it takes time.
Got a couple more sponsors you want to talk about here real quick?
No, I was going to talk about your buddies.
No, let's do it then. Okay.
Well, and
Hey, his comedy debut kind of went the same way.
Dude, it's
I give, you know what, and I understand, what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. I get it, but it's people that just actually go out and try it and want to do it. That's what makes it interesting. Then they got a story, right? So I'm not a stand-up comedian. I tried comedy one night. I like it, but I'm not good at it, right? So you got to perfect your craft, and this kid obviously is learning slowly.
right, but usually you even doing stand-up, you at least talk in front of a mirror. You know what I mean?
Or you do an open
run in
mic.
front
You
of
do an
your
open mic
buddy.
and just
Right,
three people.
But you don't,
Jimmy.
I went up there and a mic in front of a crowd and felt like I got my ass beat. Matter of fact, just last Friday.
Taking pros.
I never fought a day in my life. I was 33 years old, I guess. And I fought as the main event in my hometown. Well, that's not smart. I did it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it was an intelligent move by anybody, but they knew I'd at least hustle some tickets. You know what I mean? People would at least want to see me either win or lose. Right. People would want to see it. But even then, I trained for a minute. You know what I mean? I lost some weight, quite a bit of weight for the first one, even more for the second one. And I wasn't doing it right, but I at least was training. You know what I mean? And training with guys that fought, and training in a gym where fighters trained at. And no, I didn't put in the time they were, but I wasn't doing it for a career. I was doing it more as a bucket list. But I still trained, so I knew what it felt like to get hit, and I knew that I wouldn't freak out if I got hit.
So what's your record?
I'm 2-0 as a pro.
There you go. See,
and
retire on
undefeated.
top, brother.
Undefeated. Yeah, I was the main event my first fight and the co-main event my second fight. Both at the huge venue that's now crosses America. Used to be the skate rink. Yeah. I was at the Rumble in the rink 1 and 2. So
nice.
I have that to always. That'll be on my tombstone.
That's right. Rumble in the rink.
Rumble in the rink winner and winner.
Winner.
ticket winner.
It was terrible. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing, but
So what was the Rage in the Cage? What was
Cage
that?
Rage?
Cage Rage.
that was it was Donnie Michael. I think Terry Gruel helped with it, and it was back in the in the days pre-sanction.
I remember, I went to
Yeah,
them.
I went to them. I went to see Jay Martin fight Jay Massey in probably 2001 or 2 with my
Yeah.
dad.
So it was
Sorry.
like a local.
But it was it was local. Donnie Michael from
Right.
here, Terry Gruel from the Indiana Pit, and then Chad Wagner was one of the fighters. And back then, I went
Chad
to a
Wagner.
few. It was a
Isn't
few.
he like a strongman now?
No, that was Chad Coy.
Coy.
But the Cage Rage thing, I went to a few of them that there was a lot of people at, and then I think this is all hearsay, but I think Terry and Donnie were getting worried that the city just shut down because back then it wasn't state sanctioned. There wasn't anything. It was almost like it was Renegade. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
You didn't
It was
know
like
if you were
Fight
really
Club.
doing stuff legally or not because there wasn't anybody saying you were or not.
Like Philo Beto and them.
Right, so I think they were gonna just put it on hiatus or not do it anymore, and then Donnie let Chad Wagner take over, and then he ran a few shows, and they haven't done any since sanctioning. So, but yeah, they used to do it. I guess prior to me owning Colosseum Combat, like Jay and Chad, because he was running Colosseum or Cage Rage by then, they had some conflict or whatever, and I don't know. It was before my time.
Cage Rage and Colosseum
Yeah,
Combat.
it was before my time. After that,
Trying to bring it back. We should bring it back.
Well, I think he still owns the rights to it. At one point, I think he even tried to sue me.
Nice.
Chad Wagner is kind of a weird scenario, but
Because you had a different.
no, because I had signed an amateur. Amateur was going to fight for me outside contracts, like I said earlier, and he came up with some weird contract that somehow he had this guy under management, and that kid, not an amateur, mind you, and he couldn't fight for anywhere other than Cage Rage, and he was going to have a kickboxing show in Lafayette, and I sabotaged it, but his show was in April, mine wasn't until June. Yeah, it was ridiculous, but it was something I still had to spend money on an attorney just to, and dude, I mean, I've never seen an attorney giggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just flat out golly, this is fun. This is kind of fun. And he sent, a letter, and then that was the end of it. But he was wanting, it was a letter of request for $10,000. Now, it wasn't suing me for that. I guess if I just paid it, he would have let it go. if I don't,
Okay.
All right, here you go.
if I didn't pay it, then they could possibly take me to court. Well, I think my attorney essentially is like, well, we'll take our chances.
Yeah.
Here's why this letter is ridiculous. The guy didn't hold any license with the athletic commission, not a manager's license. Hadn't held a show since 2010. So it's kind of like, Blockbuster suing Netflix. You know what I mean? As competition, even though they have been out of business for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's Netflix's fault. So we're going to sue them 10 years later because we haven't done a show in 10 years.
We haven't sold a movie. We haven't rented a movie.
Right. And so I don't know, man. I still understand, but you brought it up, and I'll talk about it. I'm sorry. But it's
No, that's fine. I was just curious because I knew it was there. I mean, I remember I went to one of them.
I went to him. I was a fan. I went to him. I never knew I had an issue with the guy until.
You had an issue.
Until it's weird. There's several times that we were competition, but he's yet to compete. I don't know.
Knockout. Colosseum Combat.
We're gonna have a fight between you two. What do you think?
No, he'd probably win that one. I'm crippled and old and fat, and
You just kick your leg in disc golf.
it wouldn't take much. I mean, nowadays,
You're like, here, Mark, throw this disc for me.
I've already said, if it was like life or death, I probably got, I doubt 30 good seconds of fight left in me before I'd have to just all right, kill me.
You just do it.
Yeah, go ahead and put me out. But I mean, for a minute or
You're gonna
not
give it a
even
go.
a minute or
You're
two.
gonna give it a go though.
To this day, I guess I'd fight versus, let somebody take my cheese stick, but I'm not like totally. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know my limitations, and I'm not a fighter. I never was. Have you guys ever known me to be in a fist fight?
Nope.
And if I would have been, you'd have heard about it. You know
Most
what I mean?
times, all you gotta do is say, stand up for yourself, and they're gonna back off anyway.
I mean, you diffuse the situation if it's not within a ring or sanctioned match.
But I've never been the guy that was going around fighting people. Not in high school, not in my I was always kind of mouthy, and but I've never been a guy that sought physical altercation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it wouldn't take much to take me out.
Well, what do you want? You want to mention? You want to wrap this up? What do you guys want to do?
I want to know about tickets. How much are they? VIP.
When's what time does it start?
We should have talked about this last 2 hours when we were making fun of everybody else. But general admission are 25, VIP are 50 apiece, and it isn't a sales pitch. But VIP always sell out because there's 200 of them, and even if each fighter only got one table to hustle, that'd be all gone.
Right.
So I mean, they do go quick. It ain't a sales
So
pitch.
you still have them right now?
We still have some right now.
Probably not by the time you hear this podcast.
No, you will. But I was even talking before I came here to my folks. I'd stopped there before I came here and sold a whole table online, which doesn't happen very often. People
Right.
buy some, but a guy bought the entire table. So yeah, I mean they can go pretty quick. General admission, we won't turn them away.
Seats. VIP table.
10 to a table. So
Nice.
honestly, there's not a bad seat in the house.
There isn't.
There's not. The tables, you get service from, they walk around checking.
Hog
to see what you-
Heaven serves food, and the event center serves any adult beverage,
And you can, they come to you with the VIP. Everyone else,
You gotta go to
gotta
them.
go to
fend for
them.
yourself. And the VIP, I don't know if you've noticed, but they have the cushion chairs.
Yes.
And it makes a difference.
It does.
Yeah, you feel that extra $25
Yes.
luxury of sitting there, and you have a table to sit your purse. It comes in handy. Sit your drink. You don't have to worry about kicking over your nachos.
That's right.
I've been there, man. This
I might
is
have
all
to, I might
stuff that's
have to
happened
do
to me
that just like to
firsthand.
have Cooper play with his guys on it. 'Cause that's what sometimes
Wrestle at the same time.
he'll get bored with it and turn around his seat and start, but then he'll pop back up and watch it. But I mean, in between, he's either bouncing off the walls
Or bouncing off the walls.
bouncing.
There's not any.
Well, no,
in between.
he gets into meltdown mode sometimes.
He does. He does.
So,
But it's something to do. I mean, it's a good time. It's live entertainment.
Yeah.
And there's not. You can still look at your phone. You can look at your phone when you get home, but it's a couple hours of something else to do.
Yep, you can look at your phone just like you're watching TV, except for you may get someone's saliva when they get punched, makes fling out in a cloud
Or
and
blood.
crowd and land
With a
on you.
tooth or something.
That's a souvenir.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
you get a souvenir when that happens. I cornered. It's funny because I cornered a boxer and didn't realize it when I get home. And sometimes, depending on where I'm at, I do have a concealed carry. So I'm emptying everything, and here's my gun. I'm like, what the hell's in my pocket? And I pull out a mouthpiece. And I'm like, oh, okay. Somewhere after his fight, I just put it in my pocket
I
and
got a
then
9
went home.
millimeter. I got a mouth guard.
Yeah, it's like,
Some
my
change.
gosh, I posted on Instagram. I was like, the things you find, coming home after, cornering a boxer. But yeah, you never know what you'll find one of these. But no, it's we got 9 fights. We'll probably end up with 11. There's 2 that I haven't announced yet that are waiting on guys to agree on a weight and this or that. So we'll probably end up with 11. That's a perfect night. We'll be out there hopefully before midnight. Go to Moe's for the after party. Good weekend.
Yep. So how many pro fights?
This one we got 3, but all 3 of them are like big fights. Zach Eddington and Dustin Parrish is another one that, like, honestly, either one of those guys with a win could probably, I could see going to a bigger show to where I might not be able to afford them much longer. They've been kind of running through some people and making names for himself. And the same with Fallon. Like, if he pulls a win off of Dan, he's right there teetering too. So
Yeah.
like earlier when you guys were asking, there's quite a few guys, and I encourage that because it just adds the legitimacy to what we're doing here. You know, if they fight for me and then are fighting in the UFC or Bellator, then it's like, well, yeah, I want to go and see those guys while I can, you know, for $25 versus trying to pay 50 for, you know, pay-per-view or 80 for a seat at a UFC. So
For a seat in nosebleed.
right, and those people, and you know,
Next to a
like
sticky
having this, it gives these people, you know, they understand that, like, oh yeah, and then you got Justin Smith, who's fighting Jordan Mitchell, who's knocked out Bellator vets. So, you know, these guys aren't people I'm just dragging up out, you know, wherever, and yeah, I think I can do it. No, these are guys that are doing this professionally, and or even the amateurs that are doing it for the hope of being a professional and then taking it on to that next level. So they take it serious, they train hard, and you know, Jimmy can, well, all of you can attest. I mean, they put on a show. They're highly trained athletes. It's not just tough guys from, you know, the
being a tough guy.
coming in there throwing haymakers.
Yeah.
It's no bare knuckle boxing.
Yeah, it's no tough man contest.
Right. So do you want to list you want to do the laundry list of?
We can do a bunch of them. Charlie's Philly cheesesteaks. You guys, Chrysler folks, definitely know that spot. Moe's, I think everybody's probably been to Moe's River Room, the Elbow Room, which is also owned by Janine. The La Quinta Inn, who put up all the fighters. One More Gym helps us with the weigh-ins. 98.5, they're doing a ticket giveaway. So tune in 98.5, they'll be giving away a few tickets. Ink Therapy, which is actually a tattoo shop in Plainfield. Sounds crazy, but they wanted to sponsor, and they are one of Dustin Parrish's main sponsors.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things that they hit me on. I'm like, well, absolutely. You don't have to be from Kokomo to advertise.
Right.
You know?
No.
So, I mean,
Because there's people in Kokomo that don't get tattoos in Kokomo. They just won't. They go somewhere else.
Or that collect. I mean, I'm pretty heavily tattooed, and I promise one guy didn't do them all. You know what I mean? Not one shop did them all. I've traveled around and, you know, had plenty of people tattoo me, and it's one of those things. It's like anything. Like, yeah, absolutely, get on here. Come up. They'll have a little booth where he'll have his portfolio.
Yeah.
Chris is actually originally from Kokomo, I do believe. I think him and Brady might have went to school together.
Okay.
So, you know, just you know, Barlow's the beard butter.
Yeah.
They've been sponsoring forever. I mean, just you look at a poster and it's literally, you know, 20 some local businesses,
Yep.
All American Auto, top of the line auto detail, on-site services. Most people don't know what that is. Porta Pot, but he's my buddy, and they've sponsored every single event I've ever done. You know, how much business do they get from doing this? I don't know, but they've supported me every show.
Yep.
You know, and that's what keeps it going is by help all these local sponsors, and like I said, it just I couldn't do it without them, and I definitely couldn't charge $25 to get in without them.
Right.
You know, I'd have to be at the, you know, even up north. I think their cheapest ticket is I think 35, and then 85 for their VIP, and it's not any. You know, the caliber of athletes aren't any different. You know, the atmosphere isn't any different. It's just they don't have the local support that we do, and they got to find a way to make up that difference. So I greatly appreciate all that we get here.
Right on.
Give it up for Kokomo.
Yeah, what? So what time is it again?
The doors open at 7. Fights start at 8. The first 100 fans through the door, we give a free T-shirt. I probably should tell that more often, but
Well, I just see them. They
They
completely
need more
pillage.
extra larges.
yeah.
By the time I got in the door, they had smalls left.
Yeah, they go.
So when you see her walking down the street on Walnut, she's got like a
Small shirt
she's
on.
got a small
No, I
shirt
wouldn't
on.
wear a small.
But that's, I mean, and that's
Dude, they
over
run
time.
in the door. Literally
Right,
run in the door.
they're lined up out there, you know, way ahead of time, and they're, you know, we usually print about 112, and I pull out a couple for sponsors, and they always print an extra 4X for me. So we usually give away actually more than 100, but it's still, I mean, people are lined up, and then we also have, you know, shirts available for purchase, you know, that don't have all the sponsors on the back, but I didn't want to have sponsors on the back and then sell the shirts. It just seemed silly to, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so why if I have sponsors, I'll
Well, I
just
mean,
do
I don't
a
know. I
giveaway.
can see both sides of it. I mean, because it's that event.
But it's worked out because I know that there's probably been people driving by and wondering what the heck is going on over there. Why are these people lined up out the door?
For sure.
Or not even knowing what's going on at the event center that night.
Right.
Just wondering like, why is there so many? Because I've seen it to where it's literally wrapped around the building.
Yeah.
Around the side and down that way.
I've never made it that early.
Yeah, dude, I've seen pictures. I'm inside.
Yeah,
I get there real early, and I've had like one of the referees at Gary Copeland. He's like,
refs
I know you're talking
UFCs
about.
and
stuff, and he sent me pictures of it. He's like, oh my gosh, like I've never seen anything like this. And then he sent, as he's walking in, he's taking pictures of all the people walking in. And it was like pretty cool that he's even excited about seeing that many at a regional show. And he comes from Kentucky to ref those. Like he's not a local guy, obviously. And so he's like, dude, this is like awesome to see this many people at a regional MMA show. Like this is great. And sending me pics. It's like, I'm glad you sent me these. I never get to see it like that. So it's neat to see, that many. And that's part of it is like giving those away. And then that's 100 people every show that's wearing, and I've seen them all over, people wearing them, and I can see the kind of layout on the back, and I know right away,
which
that's a Colosseum Combat shirt, So over however many years, that's 3,900 we've given away. I mean, it's a good way to get your name out there.
Yeah. And you guys have a Facebook page, I'm assuming, like all the social media?
Yeah, the Colosseum Combat Facebook page, like it has everything, like I'll post matchups, the fights, polls on who you think will win. You can vote. Old shows, you can go back and watch like shows in their entirety. Fast forward whatever, and it's through Fast Play Sports. So you got like the graphics, the commentating of Chris Lytle talking about the fights, and it's a professional product. When people see the footage, they're like, oh, that looks like it's on TV. I'm like, well, yeah, it should. That's what it's supposed to look like. And what they offer and provide us is like incredible. He does the local sports and stuff, the high school sports, and the fight. What he's brought to that's been pretty awesome because they'll have the tell the tape and their records and where and it looks real professional seeing that graphic.
And Dan don't do any talking anymore, does he?
He did a few, and then there's one that he kind of. I'm going to be there, and then like, oh, I'm not going to be there, and then I might be, and then after that, and then it coincided with Chris Lytle hitting me up. And I'm not going to say no, and everybody's like, well, how'd you get Chris Lytle? I was like, he asked me, he asked me, and then I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to afford him, to get him here, and then I could, and then he's been part of it every show since. So it's, one of those things that's like, man, I never in a million years thought I'd be like hanging out talking to Chris Lytle about fights. And he's here at the shows, and you've seen him. Like you take your kid, he'll take a second to get a picture with them, and I mean he's just awesome, and it adds that extra layer. Just legitimizes the show. People are like, well, if Chris Lytle's here commentating,
interviewing the boxers in between. Or the fighters, not
he goes
fighters.
In there, and it's cool to have that part of it, and he's knowledgeable. So when Elmer and Justin are talking about the fights, now you're not hearing that live, what I mean, over at the arena, but when you watch the footage and you hear them talking the play-by-play, you have that knowledge of somebody that's fought in the UFC 20 times. So
what would it take to get that to the speakers?
Well, you wouldn't want the fighters here and them talking shit.
Oh yeah.
I would.
Oh my gosh, how's he still breathing? His nose is on the side of his head. Like, why
He just got the shit knocked out of him.
Oh, that looks brutal. His arm's gotta be ready to snap. I've never seen a cut that bad in my life.
That'd be awesome.
I guess the same reason you don't at the UFC, because that'd be terrible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. I had to bust your balls. I've done so good this whole time.
I can take it.
Man, we appreciate you taking the time out of your Sunday evening. I know you're busy and you got chitlins and a girlfriend to tend to, and I know.
And not one text message this whole time. So how busy am I?
Right.
Not one text.
can't
I've
get
been here
service down
since
here.
what, 3:00 this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll just stick with that. There's no service on that phone either, probably.
Oh, that might be it.
Yeah. As soon as you
You
go
wait till you go outside, it's gonna be like a
Hell, we are down here.
in the cellar.
In the cellar, man. It's literally the cellar, unless you hooked up with the Wi-Fi, which you probably didn't.
They got a silver alert out on you, probably. Where the hell is
Damn.
He's walking
Thank you
down
for having my
Sycamore.
back. You take a stab at me, and my scheduler will take you out. Your silver
My
alert.
girlfriend's awesome and she loves me to death, but she also loves it when I have things that keep me occupied besides bugging the shit out of her all day.
Every day.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
Is Oscars, did they?
Oh yeah.
They do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I figured they did. I just was,
Yeah.
I was trying to see what you had over there.
Yeah.
And who prints your shirts?
Cindy prints all the giveaway shirts, which is Teamworks Apparel right across the street from
Cindy.
Oscars.
What's her last name?
Lechner.
Yeah.
She's married to Tony Lechner. Yeah, good people.
She's the one that did my
5K or point 5K?
no, my roadkill shirts. The 5K
Really?
stuff are
Union
printers.
Union printers.
Yeah, I've known
Yeah, I like
Cindy a long time, and she's like,
She has a sister, Marianne.
I do not know.
Was it Garwood? She used to be Garwood.
Yeah, that was her. Yeah, Cindy Garwood. Yeah, that was her maiden name. But yeah, she does the printing of the sponsor shirts and has for quite a while. That isn't me. That's somebody a lot more popular
Uh-oh.
than me. Somebody's phone's
Probably
blowing
you.
up.
Lisa, guaranteed. Never.
Trey, hey Trey, what's
ever.
up, dude?
You're online.
You're on
No.
here.
It's my oldest.
You want to answer it?
No.
While we're on here, you want me to answer it?
I did one that one day with
I didn't
Gabriella.
even hear it or feel it.
But man, we really do appreciate you coming down and giving
No, I
us
appreciate it because, like I
insight.
said, it's a little bit that people haven't heard. So
But a lot. I mean, that's it. It
There are
doesn't
still
happen
pe-
overnight.
Yeah, and there's still people that haven't been to one or haven't even heard it's going on. I mean, or seen it and just not put it into it.
I mean, there is what 50, 60,000 people in Howard County.
They should all be there on May 18th.
Shit, he would love that.
Start lining up.
I guarantee you, I'd cram 2,000 in there before I turn them away.
Yeah.
I'd find a way to get $2,000 in there. They might not love it, but we'd get
Pulling
them.
seats
We
out
would,
of
yeah. I could find that many
It'd be
chairs.
nice one day just.
I know where they hide the chairs in there. So
And like I
trust-
said, we can get furniture from their new neighbors there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was there setting up for the NRA event, and I still go in there from time to time, and I'll help, flip some chairs and tables, and I know where they hide stuff. I know for a fact I could squeeze 2,000 people in there, but I'd much rather have notice and some bleachers, because then it'd be
professional looking.
Better viewing.
Better view.
because I mean,
Little bit.
honestly, like 1,300's about as far as you want to go flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you're gonna
Yeah.
have somebody stand up, and even with the screens, it's awesome. And but after that, a couple.
This last
sets
fight
of
was the
which-
first time you had them all the way back, though, right?
we've had
Or
before,
two of them.
Yeah, I think there's two that were positioned differently, and then they've had those big projection ones where the fighters come out,
Yep,
which is
yeah.
cool too. I mean, they got it set. Like you said, doesn't happen overnight, and they've invested their own money to make not just my fights. I mean, but to make it a lot cooler venue for anything. You know what I mean? Like they've put some money into it. When I rented it before, there wasn't 80-inch screens all over the place. There wasn't even some of the lighting. Some of that Vern's done himself. Like figured out a way to make a canister light, and like we'll put it right above there, and So I mean, they've done stuff that they didn't have to do to make it, better for me, the fans, and everybody, and not just for the fights, but for other venues.
For other events.
that
Yeah, we
go
went.
there.
Lisa
They
and I
found.
walked.
Oh, go ahead.
Lisa and I walked through there the other day with they had the auction.
With auto,
Yeah, just looked at all them cars, and that was pretty cool.
yeah, the early wine auctions.
Yep.
Yeah, they hit the kegs. They rigged up something to pull the kegs out of the big refrigerators, and I was like, "Did you make that?" He goes, "Yep."
Yeah. Oh yeah, Vern.
Vern
He's
Senior?
yeah. I like all the Verns, but
I like all the Verns.
Yeah.
I've only met Senior once, but
yeah, Lil Vern would go to fights with me up by Chicago and stuff, and we've been buddies a minute. And then I didn't realize when the event center was being purchased by the Graves family that was his Graves family. So I texted him, I was like, "Is this your family by chance?" And, well, yeah. Can I maybe get back in there? Like, well, we were kind of hoping you would. And it's like, dude, that'd be great. You know, and I think I was probably one of the first events that signed a contract with them once they took over. And like I said, I'm grateful forever just to have the opportunity to be back there after what I thought I'd never be back in there.
Fiasco.
Yeah. So sometimes if you stick with it,
Yeah.
So I'm glad I didn't give up when.
And you're glad you didn't give up on Kokomo.
And it's my hometown. I want, like, yes, I know it sounds cliche, but I want it to be cool here. You know, like,
Oh no.
I mean,
it's not, and I like that it's here. I mean, we wouldn't probably drive to all these.
But you know how it is doing stuff in Kokomo and getting support. It's hard, and and even now,
Jimmy is all about. He knows all about that.
right? It
Not
is.
just Jimmy though,
It's
but
hard.
even like Kelly.
I've had people that have even told me like, "Oh man, I've asked them, or they've said, one of these times I'm going to go to your fights." Like, why haven't? Oh man, I go to these ones in Indy, and well, for one, there hadn't been a show in Indy in a few years, and then two, I know the show they're talking about, and it wasn't nothing, and even that compared to what I was doing, but I didn't want to sound like an asshole, so I was like, okay, man, I understand, and it was almost like
Read my Yelp reviews.
well, if they didn't see it, if they weren't there, it couldn't have been as cool as everybody's making it out. And I hate to say it like that, but it's almost like that. I was like, well, I wasn't there. So it couldn't have been that cool because I wasn't there. I didn't hear anything about it. Well, I mean, there's 1,200 people. Oh, there couldn't have been that many people there. And then you can show them a picture. Well, it's like, man,
it's all camera. It's all filters and angles.
There's really 450. They got
and it's like you can't convince people if they don't want to believe it, and then I don't try. I just know that
if you haven't been, it's a
good time,
and it's a good, it's a good thing that hopefully Cooper will always remember this. I take him, anytime it's my weekend and that's going on.
I'll still come meet you at Tattoo Shop for tickets.
Okay, all right.
They still let me in there.
They still let you in?
Yeah, I still have tickets up there.
Okay, well, I just been buying them at the door now.
So is that where you can get them? As
New Breed Tattoos.
New Breed Tattoos.
They have them. You can get them online at ColosseumCombat.com. It's through Square, so it's a safe site. You're not just putting your credit card.
Or if you
call some bank account somewhere.
If you call Mark at 765, he will deliver. No,
you think I'm lying?
No,
it's on every poster and on my Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, like I said, I don't get bothered near as much as when I thought it'd be cooler to hide it.
Yeah.
You put it on. You put your phone number on every poster, flyer, and on your Facebook. Nobody bothers you.
Yeah.
It's weird. Then they try emailing you or contacting you through Instagram direct
you're
message.
like, really?
You're like that. Like I never read these. Like how would you? Why
Instagram
would you
direct
message me
I don't
this?
ever. Facebook more, but Instagram. I bet I have messages on Instagram I haven't read for.
Yeah, I didn't even know how you checked them. And then, like, I'm looking at them from, like, 4 months ago. This guy said, hey, I'm looking for a fight at 155 pounds for, whatever show it was. I'm reading it, like, 4 weeks later. Like, well, don't message me on here if you're looking for a fight. This is Instagram.
The numbers on the page.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, literally, it is. My email, I mean, everything but my address. I don't want any crazy people just showing up.
What is your address again?
Well, if you Google it, you're gonna go to my renter's house. So let's just, I let everybody go there, and they pick on the wrong fat guy. It works out perfect. I'm sure Evans caught some shit.
By the way, your rent's going up next month.
Right. I do that on purpose. My P.O. Box 25. You got it down right now.
I love that. I love a P.O. box. You got to do a P.O. box, man.
Yeah.
People will be beating your door down.
So May 18th at the Kokomo Event Center.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Doors
Doors
open.
open. 8 p.m. First bell.
If you want a free shirt, you better get there at noon.
That ain't a joke, man. I'm telling you, people.
You can shop at mattresses. I'm
That's free ads, man. They don't.
That's
Why
the
would it?
outlet.
Huh?
That's the outlet.
I know. I went in there. That's why. That's why.
Lucas on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's good enough to use. He's been there for long enough.
Yeah, we walked-
Well, he left the building that I work for Quality, right? So he left that building, or they sold it, and then they went over there, and then they got the one down south. So it worked out real good because I've heard a lot of people going in there. So
And I mean, like I've had a couple people, and you know how people love to like just hope that they're shitting on your day.
I know
Like,
that one.
So where you gonna have the fights now if they got that bait shop in there? I'm like, well, I mean, that's not. It's where the weigh-ins were.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, well, it has nothing to do with the event center. I mean, it's the same building, but that's not anything that they were using for
Right.
the event. Well, in that other part, I said, yeah, that's where the autos used. So that's not any of it. Like that's part that was going to just be sitting empty that they're utilizing. You know what I mean? And you're like, and the people still don't want to believe you.
I
Yeah,
forgot they opened that up.
yeah, and it's like, well, how you gonna do fights there when there's a bait shop? I mean, I guess like you would like it. I mean, there's a gift shop at Conseco. They still somehow have football games. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, so you're gonna have a few more crickets in there. It's no big deal.
there's,
Minnows just running around. I'm sure there's crickets.
Man, we had to have a bait shop at my comedy shows. When I hear the crickets,
Yes.
I have an excuse.
You have an excuse.
Oh, it's
for
a
it.
bait shop.
It's a
There's
bait
crickets
shop.
at the
There's a
bait shop.
they
here.
did that. It's where they did do a comedy show in there once.
I did my comedy in the other. Someone else did a comedy show. Oh yeah. I'm not allowed to talk about that without having the Graves family message me on Facebook and ask me to remove it.
So we won't talk about that one, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
one in that.
And I had thought about renting that
that
one.
and they still have the other two, the A&B rooms, and they still
And they
have
just
all
blocked that off.
Right.
That doorway. I don't know how. Wasn't their last fight, was it? That doorway's new right there. Down to that.
Oh
hallway.
yeah, right. So keep people from the.
Yep.
Yeah.
As soon as we're off air, I'm going to ask you about that thing that you're not allowed to talk about.
Okay.
Okay.
But thanks, man. Thanks for giving us your time. And sorry, I know it's just a
He's
random
not
thought
allowed
that
to.
runs
It was
through.
random. Very random.
Please. Squirrel.
It's like a squirrel. Shit, I'm pumped.
So once again, thank you, Mark Slater, Colosseum Combat, Exluv, Exlix,
Excellent.
Colosseum I can't even say it. I can't say Exlix. I can't say Colosseum
Yeah, maybe you
Combat.
shouldn't talk.
Maybe I should. Here's Jared.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mark Slater and Colosseum Combat. Thanks for coming in.
May 18th.
May 18th. Doors open at 7. First bell's at 8. And if you have not been, I'm telling you right now, it's well worth your $25. You're gonna get 2-3 hours worth of really
3,
good.
4.
I mean, it just depends.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, more than
some
that.
good fights. I'm telling you. I mean, I love it.
Fights,
We go.
and the best meat in town is served right there. Hog Heaven.
Hog Heaven. Hog Heaven.
Take
That's
that,
right.
Mark.
Damn. Not the.
not that Mark.
Not that Mark, but we thank you.
I don't give a fuck.
We're not going to talk about it. We'll
Yeah,
talk
I'll
about
give
it.
that
Mark
guy
Hunt.
his too.
Mark
him.
Hunt. Hey, man. Thanks again for spending time with us, and maybe we'll do one from the fights one night. That'd be kind of cool. Get some of the fighters on there and do some pre-interviews or post-interviews. And
Yeah, I dropped the ball on that. I waited till today when I was like, oh, let me see, and
Yeah, it's
no, it's not a big
No,
problem.
and we can have you guys back another time, and bring Brady, bring a fighter or two, and before the next one. When's the one after this?
I'm taking the summer off. It'll probably be September.
Oh, you're
It
taking
will
summer
be,
off,
It'll
huh?
be September.
Vacation, huh?
We go up to Michigan.
Nice.
Have a little.
Don't do it the third weekend. That's the Vietnam reunion.
It's not. It was. And
Oh, was
I
it?
changed it because we realized it was.
Yeah.
I never do that.
I know you wouldn't, but you probably still feel it. I mean.
Well, part of
It's
it
different.
too is even the hotels.
Oh yeah.
You're not going to be able. Yeah.
You're not going to get a hotel, and then I mean, why? There's enough weekends. Why compete with something else? And,
Right.
I mean, yeah. I honestly I do try to.
I know you do.
But some weekends, you mess up, and then like one time I did June 30th, not realizing somehow that's 4th of July weekend. You know what I mean? Like it was the weekend where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
July, like the 4th was on like a Tuesday or whatever it was. So
Yeah, you
they,
remember that
It's
back in the
nuts.
day, the 4th of July was
On
the 4th of July.
right,
Yeah.
that's how it used to be. And I found out that like no, June 30th.
We're having fireworks.
So
June
I'm like,
30th.
I'll never do that again.
Yeah.
And that's when it was. They had the fireworks at the park for free. They had some free band. They had it, and I didn't know that going into it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and then it's like, yeah, that's probably not the best time to do a fight. And then it was the hotels were more because it was a holiday weekend rates, and so you learn after time. Yeah. There's times you do them, and times you don't.
That's right. That's right.
You want to take us out?
Yeah. All right. Once again, thank you, Mark, for coming. This is the Waste of Kokomo, and we'll see you next time.